of good takes.
People that are using weed should be kicked off of Twitter because it's too powerful. It's not fair to everybody else.
We're out here, we're drug.
Smoking and getting creatively enhanced.
Really thinking, really pondering these issues.
Saying that out.
Some motherfucker comes through and they've got like a big blunt. This is why Aaron has all those Twitter followers. You know, I, like an idiot, I'm sitting here posting sober, like really thinking about the days of what a geek.
No, that makes me feel like a total freak of nature because I don't smoke. Right. And so like it just makes me feel like if I did smoke, I don't know how I would even relate to human beings. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't even know.
You know, homie, some of us are born with it.
Yeah, no.
To smoke weed.
I got super high in 2009 and I just never came back. That's what
that was enough forever. It just stuck.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you know, this is actually tight.
We're not safe for Wonks, everybody. Thanks for joining us. It's a lovely day. It's Cinco de Mayo. We're not really doing like a Cinco de Mayo show per se, but we're just hanging out and you know,
we're celebrating
that it's an awesome day. We're celebrating, and also we have some awesome people here to help us join us on the day, celebrate, talk about whatever's on our minds, talk about the news. Let's welcome our guest Marcos from Ain't Shit Show, the homie.
Well, it's nice to be here. It's amazing. It's tight. I'm excited. You know, I'm a bit of a nerd and I love this show. Like I've heard about the show about a year ago and I was a big fan. And then I'd never thought I'd be here. So this is tight. This is an experience for me. This is one of those like long time, first time, but now I'm a guest.
Real shit. When we were starting, what would you say, Kennedy, was our first, was it Street Fight? Our first, we're making it not just as like, but as podcasters and like people who make shit in this space.
Yeah.
Was Brian Quimby was like our first, okay.
And he comes by and we're just kicking it and he's just like, yeah, y'all are awesome. And like even off air was like offering to help us with some stuff and giving us tips and stuff. And we were like, holy shit, that was definitely like I think that was the first time that we were like, whoa.
And when we were talking,
we never knew we'd make it this far.
When we were talking, we were like, yo, if we're doing the shit that we need to do, like as a unit, we're gonna be able to like, and I wouldn't say we've really helped anybody in a real way. Like, oh, we're really gonna raise it, but you know, like we'll hang out with people and can like fucking help their shit get up to our level fucking faster. Because we
actually,
shit sucks,
you know, I think we do have one baby podcast that I think we could take a tiny bit of credit for. Big Chungus.
Big Chungus. Yeah. I feel weird. We can't really take credit for Psychic Dolphin. They're more of a sibling show.
Yeah, that was always more of a sister show. Dennis, here from Psychic Dolphin.
What's
up? Hi there, everyone. It's Dennis from Psychic Dolphin Garage and Dolphins
always
and
a pleasure to work out being able to have you on at least for part of the show. I know you got to go at some point, but it's just awesome because your schedule of all the Dolphins can really be impossible.
Yeah, I mean, none of us live near each other, and we all do different things. Yeah, it's a wonder that we get the podcast out on a semi-regular basis. But
I'm also a huge fan of Psychic Dolphin as well too, and
thank you.
I've been on your Patreon. I think back when it started, so I've been big fan. It's crazy. I didn't realize that you.
Yeah, that's me.
Because I didn't hear your voice at all. Now I recognize you.
Yeah, it's me. Yeah, this is what I look like. This is my face.
They're like podcasters to me are literally just voices. Like I don't know who they are. And you would not believe how many times I've like accidentally DM'd or like been someone and like been friends with them for a long time. And then they're just like, oh yeah, check out my podcast. I'm like, homie, I've been listening to your podcast. Oh my God.
I mean, it was kind of like that when we met too. Yeah. We were talking about that before the show, but it was like first of all, sometimes when I'm recording audio shows, especially on the weekend, I don't look like this. I don't look put together and beautiful. I look like a dumpy
3 days a week.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is 3 days a week, and the other 4 days a week, I look like a fucking slob. So not 100%, but a lot. And so like I didn't look nice or anything.
I've never, in the entire time I've known Kennedy, they've never looked like a slob. There was maybe one day, and it felt like you were being ironic.
But I didn't
Nice
like, really
try.
look like myself or anything. And Marcos and I were doing Sentai Truther Club stuff together, and like it was like a few minutes before we actually hit record. You're like, "Wait, you're Kennedy from Not Safe for Wonks."
Yeah, no, I listen to like a ton of podcasts, purely just because it's hard to describe why I listen to podcasts. So I have two modes, right? I either listen to like insane, gigantic, long playlists of music, or I need to hear people droning on about stuff, depending on what I'm working on. And I happen to like, I eat through podcasts. So I listen to all these podcasts, but I have no idea what any of them are about. And when people are like, "Oh, what's your favorite podcast?" I'm like, don't ask that. I don't know. Just leave me alone. It's like, and it's purely just because I think for me, all podcast is for me is like homie simulators. And those are like tend to be my favorite. It's a homie simulation. It's the concept of like, you're just hanging out, you're like working on stuff, and your homies are in the background, like passing a blunt. That's what it feels like. And those are like perfect podcasts to me. One of the podcasts, like the podcast format that I don't really appreciate, and it's hard for me to get into it, is it's like a news podcast where people are just like, "Here's the news, here's things that are happening." I'm like, I don't like this. I'm getting anxious while I'm trying to like work on stuff. It's too scary for me.
I unironically like it when people read the internet to me. Like,
there was, well, first of all, there have been associates of this network who have really advocated for us going in a hard news direction.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, "Oh boy, no, we just want to grill." And we want to grill, I think, as a show more than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is like a very, we just talk about the news. It is a news show,
Mm-hmm.
but like we can take our time getting there. Really, I think of it as like the real experience of this show is, that we have good takes. You don't have to worry about like listening to something that's funny and entertaining, and then halfway they start sounding like PewDiePie.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I just think there's a big difference between like, "Hello, let's talk about the news. Today, the breaking stories," and then like the vibe that like I think the best podcast, and I think when we're at our best, we try to cultivate is more like, when your friends show up, you're like, "Hey, what's up?" You pack the bowl. "Yo, did you see that fucking fucked up shit on Twitter?" Did you like that's like the ideal, talking about the news vibe. It's not necessarily this like hard-hitting journalism. Sure, people tend to take that slightly more seriously sometimes, but I think a lot of people are also starting to wake up to the fact that a lot of times that shit, no matter how real it seems, is faker than, what your homies tell you on the porch.
Yeah, when I do my pod, I think our best episodes are when I'm constantly getting interrupted by my co-host Ruben. I remember one time we were talking about something about communism, and he's like, "I'm a Lemonist. I believe in Lemonism." And I was like, "Explain it." And he's like, "Lemons are good, and that's all that matters." And like me trying to like actually talk about real things while he's just like, Lemonism is like how the show works, and that's why it's good in my mind. And I hate it when I know that while I'm recording the pod, if I absolutely cannot, I'm just at my wit's end and having like a breakdown towards the end of it because I can't get my story out, I can't say anything, then I know it's an amazing pod. It's probably one of our best we've ever done. So
yeah, I mean, theory is great and all, but what is it doing for my fish fillet?
good question. Real good question.
I feel like at PDG we kind of hit our stride somewhere in the middle there. Maybe more on the comedy side of things, where one of the reasons why I was even asked onto the show was to bring some sort of academic credos, because I studied journalism and things like that. And so I think we do definitely try to tackle more new stuff, but it's like you know, there is a certain amount of like ennui that comes from like just reading the news, and it's like, I like, if I say this with a straight face, I'm going to like burst into tears. So why didn't I just try to make a joke about this instead? And that's kind of where like we, you know, misery loves company in that way. So we definitely do make fun of all of the fucking assholes that, you know, run our world. And hopefully along the way you learn maybe a little bit about learn a little bit about like dialectical materialism and theory, but not in the sort of like, you know, Victorian way that you might be forced to if you read a book.
Dennis, we've got like I'd love to spend the whole show on Inside Baseball, and that's usually what I do when I'm on Psychic Dolphin. I just talk about making a show the entire time I'm there. I wanna have one more just about you question, which is, it's Cinco de Mayo. You seem to have heel attire on. Like you've got a devil mask. You've got like a Baphomet or some dissected butterfly. Yeah, what's going on?
I am a heel. That's just it. It's like I all of my favorite wrestlers are heels, or they usually are playing heels. I am a heel myself. I don't think I pretended. I'm not nice. I'm chill and I'm nice, but I'm not like kind.
Yeah, everybody wants to be the cool heels. Everybody.
I mean, I guess it's just like
chill.
I'm just kind of a bitch. Like that's just it. I'm just kind of a bitch sometimes. So that makes you kind of a heel. But yeah, it's Cinco de Mayo. That's fine. You know, it's you know, they serve French fries at Del Taco. So who really won in the end, the French or the Mexicans? Like, it's really hard to say.
Very well put.
Oh my God, Marcos!
Yeah,
no.
Historical.
You ready to weigh in on that? Cause
yeah, Cinco de Mayo is actually Homie's propaganda and like praxis, and here's why. Cinco de Mayo, the project, there's like a bunch of different like ulterior motives within the project of Homeism, but the main goal is to turn white people into Mexican people. That's like to broaden the scope of what it means to be Mexican so broadly that it eventually muddies the white, like what whiteness is, and it just turns it into like, I mean, white people are Mexican at this point. And so Cinco de Mayo, you are Mexican. You wake up and that's just, it happens. In America, I think it's tight that America fucks with Cinco de Mayo much harder than Mexico does. Because
yes, technically that is true, but you got to realize America's superpower is capitalism absorbing things. Like anything that's a reason for you to fucking party, we're fucking all over it. I'm surprised America doesn't spend more money on Cinco de Mayo than Mexico does. We might have to run a poll and check.
What did you call it earlier, Dennis?
Party America's all in.
Oh yeah, it's just Cinco de Mayo is just White Girl Wednesday. At least.
So I think like that. I think so the like to get into like the actual practical application and where Homeist thought comes from, right? This concept of Homeism for me and where it comes from is this idea that the ulterior essentially the goal of most, like in America, this is at least from where I've seen it, for most, like any kind of inclusivity among and like outreach for like any kind of, you know, people of color is always kind of the goal is to turn them into white people or give them this like essentially assimilate to the point where your culture and history doesn't matter, but your access to a what is it called, to like capital, your access is increased, right? It's this concept of like solidarity through essentially either whitewashing or asking you to like just be whiter or get your money up so you can become whiter, right? And like that's right. It's that to me has always been weird and not cool. So the Homeist solution to that is fuck that. If you've ever struggled, if you've ever had it rough, if you're like not doing well and you can't really relate to like anyone in your neighborhood and you're some white guy that feels like an outsider, no, you're not white anymore. You're Mexican. Too bad. Right? You have essentially the Mexican experience.
I mean, yeah, I've got a lot of like homies by proxy who are, you know, honorary Mexicans because they were the one white guy that grew up in in the San Gabriel Valley. Like, you know, there's no other white people here.
Yeah, I'm of the belief, like 100% belief, right, that Mexican is both a nationality and it's also a honorific that you can get bestowed upon, right? And so, like,
I mean, soon I'll be living in something that like literally is rightfully Mexico's.
yeah.
You know,
So
part of the country that is.
I know people like, so I used to work in restaurants. I was a chef for a long time, and I worked everywhere from like, you know, these corporate, huge, really nice kitchens to like these greasy spoons. And the one thing, no matter where you go in a restaurant, you'll always it's always ran by like Latin people, right? Not necessarily Mexican, but people like Latin people are usually the backbone of like most kitchens in, well, at least in California, and in the Bay Area. But one of the things that used to happen all the time is we would get, every now and then, we'd have white servers that would just have to come in and work a ridiculous shift. They'd work like a 12-hour shift because something would pop off, or we'd have a catering event. And every time, every chef, every head chef, every like Mexican chef in the back would always be like, today you're Mexican, right? Today you're working 14 hours, you're Mexican, right? This is the way it's got to be. And you know what? No one ever batted an eye. It was nice. You know, like you would see what all that really does is kind of bridge it. It bridges this like solidarity, right? It makes it so that, because right now the way the discourse goes is white people aren't really allowed to talk at all about anything, right? And I'm not saying it's okay to be white, because that's
I love this system.
That's a fucking weird, you know, you can get really sure. It slips really quickly. Yeah. So the idea is whiteness isn't necessarily have anything to do with your skin color. Whiteness has more to do with your accessibility to capitalism, or like, I guess, compatibility with capitalism, how easy it is for you to move within the capitalistic ranks. That's
and you can show that whiteness has also erased the ethnicity of Caucasian peoples too.
Yeah exactly.
See Jewish, Irish, Italian, folks from Europe.
All that's true. But also,
we're not giving the Italian shit, all right?
The Italians can fucking stay erased, okay, buddy?
Yeah, all right. But listen,
this is going to be my shtick now.
This is an anti-Italian podcast.
We did a whole thing on this earlier on. I just, you know, we can make that speech, but I live in the South, and let me tell you, when push comes to shove, people tend to choose being white over having money. We can look at any red state. You can look at, you know, Mississippi, and they've been in crushing poverty for years. And the people there, Black people don't even have to be involved in the political conversation. Just the poor people in Mississippi, like, hey, see your economic circumstance and make some changes. You've already got an ingrown base of people that want to help you with that project. And yeah, they haven't had that. So in y'all's experience of, hey, you are now experiencing the Latino economy, and like identify with this. Do you, in that, you know, experience, does it wake people up? Do you feel like you've been changing people's minds over the long term?
I mean, it's an opportunity,
or at least getting them to think differently.
Yeah, I had my mind changed, you know, working landscaping. You know, like,
you know,
homie comes over and says, "Don't empty this wheelbarrow, you know, one at a time. We're going to lift it up and dump it over the retaining wall together." I go, yeah, we are. That is quick.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a whole different conversation, but movers, you learn a lot about moving some shit when you work with movers. You know, I had to hire a mover for my last move because I just, been doing that for a long time in my life. But man, they were getting stuff, hitting it at the right spaces, and like I learned a lot just from that experience. And the number one thing I learned was you get like two people who are motivated to do it, and maybe two other people, and tasks become a lot easier. Like that thing that was impossible for you to lift, one extra set of hands, it becomes a lot easier. And that happens a lot in our politics, especially locally, or in our organizations. You find one other person that gives a shit, suddenly it's fucking moving.
I think what we're trying to say here is that there's no such thing as unskilled labor.
Well, sure, yeah, that is what we're saying a
except
lot,
for
but that's among
being
them.
except for being a podcaster. No
Of
skill
course.
required.
It's true. Absolutely, 1000%.
The only
I thought you
unskilled
were gonna
labor
say,
is
investment
podcasting.
banking. Actually, wait, no, landlording. Landlording is unskilled labor.
Yeah.
But
So-
Brandon, to respond to your question, I think the thing is it's really complicated with Latino people in general because we are part white. A lot of us are fully white, and it's so it's a little bit more complicated. The way that race has played a role in Latin America and in like American Latin America, like for like you and I, it kind of paints the way that we experience race a little bit differently because in some senses we do have a little bit of white privilege and a little bit of mixed privilege. Some of us have a lot of it because they're just straight up white. But the way that Latino people are treated, if you're like just slightly more brown than another person, is we all experience this crushing racism and capitalism via racism differently. It really does kind of paint the experience within our own culture a little bit differently too, because of the casta system kind of still existing, but not quite existing. But and that's why in the 1920s Mexicans were considered white because there was like a drop in the amount of white people in America. But then it's because of World War I. But then as soon as World War II and birth rates were happening, and they didn't necessarily want Mexicans to become like landowners or heroes or like benefit from a GI Bill, they were no longer considered white. They were considered Spanish, which wasn't white. There's a really good book that talks a lot about like the creation of like the white race and what it does to become white. And like how like Jewish people and Irish people slowly gained their whiteness over time. It's The Invention of the White Race, or no, Racecraft: The Invention of the White Race. It's a really good book. It's just a collection of essays. It's fairly short. And then Brandon, you were talking about like how there seems to be no solidarity between working class white people and black people in the South. And again, that's all kind of by design. And who's it? Reginald Takaki wrote about that in, I can't remember the name of the book, but the chapter of the book that I remember is Rise of the Cotton Kingdom. It's a very, very good short little read of how slavery was on the decline in the South, like the actual like moral moral implications of slavery were on the decline, and people were like, maybe we don't really need to do this. But then Eli Whitney went around and invented the cotton gin, and then they're like, well, now look, our economy is going right back up. Maybe we do kind of need. So finally, like slave owners were kind of pitting poor whites and slaves against each other.
Mhm.
Because it was now economically convenient for that to happen. Before, you had like indentured servants, and it wasn't becoming very economically good. But now that you could like force people to sort of work and compete with one another in this little tiny like market that you've created in the South about cotton, you could sow distrust between races, and so there's no solidarity between the white indentured servants and slaves, even though there was very little in the difference between the two other than the status of being fully human, which is actually kind of a lot. But as far as the work that was concerned, it really wasn't that much different. So that antagonism has like obviously existed to this day. I mean, racism is all over the place, especially anti-black racism. Of course, that probably better than any one of us here. And it's sad that unfortunately that I don't know what it'll take to kind of break away that sort of idea of like a lack of solidarity between the white working class and the black working class. But my hope is that eventually something will break and they can finally see that there really is very little difference between all of us as working class people. and we
I
should
have an
bring that
answer.
around.
I have an answer for that, actually.
Is it
I-
homies?
Yes, but it's food. It's food,
Mm,
right? And
I think that's a good.
that's
That
a good
probably is
answer.
it.
yeah, so let me. We used to do like skate grills back in the day. Like it was like
Mhm.
homiest action before it was actually homie stuff. But essentially, the idea was we just fed everybody, right? We would have me and a couple homies. We'd all save up all our money, like like a couple $20 from a paycheck, and at the end of the day, we'd have like maybe $200, or not the end of the day, but at the end of the month, we'd have like $200, maybe $300. Buy a bunch of meat, buy a bunch of like drinks, some beers, whatever, and then go to the park and then cook, and everyone was welcome. Anyone could come through and get food, whether you were rich, poor. We usually do them at skate parks, and every now and then, anytime you get a large amount of brown people in a single area, you get police, right? So that would happen. Police would get called, they come through, and I had homies that would be like, hey, fuck the cops, let's not look, we gotta tell them to get the fuck out of here. I was like, hey, check this out, before we do that, get them a plate, go get them, make sure you feed them, make sure you offer them a beer if they want it. I know they're not supposed to, but give them, whatever. Like, say, hey, here's a plate, come through, eat with us, talk. And my friends would be like, dude, fuck, like, why are you, and I would say, listen, then after they're fed, while they got a handful of carne asada, tell them how you feel, tell them why you want them to leave, tell them that you don't feel safe around them because you have homies that are locked up, right? And then eventually a dialogue started. These people were able to talk. Latino youth and even like Black youth were there to, and actually able to talk to police officers about why they didn't trust them. And police officers gave us these shitty racist answers about like how we don't trust you guys. One officer told the story about how when he was younger, he got jumped by like 3 Black dudes and it scarred him. And he wanted to make sure that there was someone who could like save him if that ever happened again. And they were like, hey, anytime you've like arrested and brutalized a Black person, you made those 3 Black people over, right? You're like, anger just creates more anger, and it just creates more animosity. And it's like, and I'm sure that he was just like, whatever, this carne asada is good, and went home and like beat his wife or whatever the fuck. But
I resonate with what you're saying, but also like, who has the power in that scenario, and who really has the responsibility and the obligation to be the the person expanding their mind?
This is what I'm really trying to get at, right? I had an opportunity as a young man that I don't think most people have, right? As a young man growing up, I grew up in a city it's hard to explain how I grew up, because I grew up in a city that's really nice, but I was the only broke person. So it wasn't like, for me, I had to deal with the shittiness of being like one of the only Mexicans that went to the school that I went to, and like, being one of the only Latino people that was like openly Latino, because that's a thing, right? Like, that was, and it was really difficult for me to deal with that. But on top of that, I was also broke. My family was broke. We were crazy broke, and it forced me into all these like fucked up situations. But I had an opportunity that I don't think most people in my position, like people who actually grow up real rough, and people of color who are growing up real rough just in the streets, being victims of capitalism, have, which is the opportunity to think about my place in the world with a clear mind, the opportunity to sit and think about where I am and how what I do not only says things about myself, but eventually is this big giant broadcast of my race in general, because I'm not allowed to just be me. I have to be an avatar for all Mexican people. I have to be. And so that weight, I don't think a lot of people carry that with them. And nobody likes to think of themselves as being on the bottom of the system, right? It's that concept of like, every single American is a temporarily broke millionaire, right? That's how Americans see themselves. That shit also exists, and like in the hood, that shit exists everywhere, right? Everyone feels like they're only a few days away from making it rich, from something happening and the whole world changing around them. No one ever wants to admit that not only is this world set in stone, but there's very little that we can do by ourselves to change anything. And giving these kids, these like they were younger, like 16, 17, I was 21 at the time, like they got the opportunity to confront someone in a constructive and healthy, positive way. Even if those cops went home and said, I'm just for this shit, I'm going to go and, fucking arrest 10 more brown people because I feel like it. Doesn't matter, because I gave the opportunity to these kids to think about themselves in a way that they never got to think about themselves. And I think about that all the time. That is way more important right? Recreate experiences that were positive in your life and just kind of like try and keep recreating them for other people. And that's essentially what like in homie thought is called cultivating. Oh, did I lose everyone?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to zoom you in.
Sorry. But no, in homeist thought, the idea is cultivation, right? You are constantly it's a garden. You have to think of yourself as a garden. You have to think of the world as a garden. You have to think of your fellow men, fellow women, fellow everyone as a garden, and cultivate not only things in yourself, but cultivate them as well. Make them grow. Let them grow. Let them go and bloom and show other people how to grow. And like that is real homie stuff. That's like the real homie stuff. That's what the homies are all about, right? This concept of like radical friendship of like, look, I can't be my best self until you're also your best self, and together we're going to be our best self. So when I self-improve, I improve everyone around me, and vice versa, right? Like,
I think that's a super good way to think about it, talk about it.
Mhm.
Listen, we've got a new episode of the show that we want to talk about. It's just come out, so if you are following us, on any podcast feed, you can get like a 60-second jump on this, because we're going to tell you about it as soon as we come back from the break. And we'll maybe talk a little bit about vaccine news, because there's a lot to share. We'll be back. Hey, hello. Welcome back. Listen, we've got new audio for people who are fans of the show. We actually we've got new stuff, but we wanted to dig a little bit into the archives because we have like a really funny episode that Kennedy and I recorded right as GameStop Mania was happening. And we were like, oh yeah, we'll just put this out like after it dies down. And we never did. It's died down now. So it's the perfect time. Listen to the new audio episode about GameStop. We were all planning on being Nokia millionaires. And so we talked about stock ethics, how capitalism like resells stuff like this. And also like how funny it was to have something that was so goofy during a time where there was a lot of bad news on the news. So just like the fact that everybody put on a top hat for a week and became a stock market expert, so bizarre and so random that it felt very 2021.
Mhm.
Yeah. We talked a little just about like poverty and stuff too, and like how just like people's access to certain kinds of things, like and just like how for me, like being a fake Nokia millionaire for a week was like a chance to actually learn something about the stock market, something as a poor person that I just really didn't know anything about, because like none of my immediate family really messed with it. And I would always hear these sort of whispered, certain aunts and uncles and things have stock portfolios and it's a whole thing and blah, blah. Come to find out, it's just gambling like I thought. It's just gambling.
Yeah, it's just
It's
gambling.
really boring gambling.
100%.
A horse race is a little more exciting than a line going up and down, I think, personally. But do you?
Listen, some people love to watch that line go up and down. I wish Grav was here, because Grav like is a longtime stock market aficionado, and he just loves the thrill of the hunt.
If anything I've ever learned, there's no getting rich quick, period.
Yeah.
Right. And
Well, listen, if you're a pharmaceutical company,
yeah. But I'm saying that like there's no getting rich quick unless. So what is the joke I say on my pod all the time? It's like, there's no getting rich quick unless you buy my book, right? Like that's always the secret that people tell you all the time. If anyone's trying to tell you about the way that you can absolutely make the most amount of money and do the most and get and become 6'2" and become a Chad, it's always with a buy my book or like listen to my pod.
Being a hot
secret to getting rich
6'2"
quick is find a sucker and don't feel bad about suckering them, right?
Yeah.
Listen, being a 6'2" Chad is like harder than it looks. There's a lot of emotional stress. Sometimes you're like, oh, this is nice. I can see the top of people's heads from where I'm at. But a lot of the time, I mean, just because you have long bones, it doesn't stop you from being sad.
Hey, I've got another way to get rich quick.
What?
Divorce a billionaire.
Oh, well, you know.
I was gonna hit you with my joke, my favorite joke that I so if you're Latino and above 5'5", you need to decolonize. Right, right, usually straight up.
I'm right there at that threshold. I'm 5'5". I don't trust any like 5'10" Mexicans.
Yes,
like,
no, sorry.
Something's up with you. You're not fully us. I'm sorry.
You got to decolonize. You got to radically. You got to redistribute your knees.
Yeah.
You know
Listen. Funnily enough, Melinda was telling Bill the same thing. She's coming with the baseball bat. He's like, yeah, give me those bones, Bill. He's getting like how many billions of dollars? I mean, it's not in cash, obviously, it's in assets, but it's still. What do you care? That's more than enough liquid for any human being.
Yeah.
I'm honestly this is going to be a hot take. Like I'm a Bill Gates truther, right? I
want to see where this is going.
I don't think Bill Gates.
Okay, wait. Wrong one.
Okay, I don't think Bill Gates is actually smart enough to like do any of the like mind control stuff that people accuse him of, like all the horrific things. I honestly think it's Melinda. She's the one. I think it's her that's driving. I think he's too dumb. I think he cares about nerd stuff, and like if he wasn't married, he'd be like he'd literally have his own moon base, but just for him, and like it wouldn't be evil, and it's evil in the sense that he's got too much money, but there wouldn't be the evil intention of like tricking people into like giving him money to like recolonize Africa, which is what he's doing with the Bill Gates Foundation.
No, yeah, I actually kind of agree with you here. She's the eugenicist.
Yeah.
I think so too.
she's the hardcore eugenicist. In fact, I made a joke, like it was the format of the tweet was a joke, but there was an emotional non-joke to it, which was about like, you know, how now that we've all got the 5G vaccine, Melinda doesn't need Bill for her plan anymore. You know, like,
I'm in agreement. I think that's true.
But it's kind of how I feel on the inside. Like I'm with you there.
Although I saw that shortly after they divorced, she like went to some publication. I don't remember what it was now, but urging vaccine patent holders to release the patent or something like it, or allow other countries to make vaccines. It was like, did they get divorced over this?
Yeah, because they gotta spread the 5G as far as possible.
And you know what? I think you might be right. Now it's all these Tetris pieces are falling into place now.
I once again reclaim my throne as the Alex Jones of the left.
Hey Rachel, glad you could make it.
Hi everybody.
So it's not, which is awkward.
Yeah, I mean it's awkward either way because I showed up late, but I can at least tell a funny story. So like, you know that trope where somebody will like have something on their hand and then they itch their nose? That was me. I didn't realize that I had liquid lipstick like all over my finger. Scratched and just like right in the middle of my face. Had to completely redo this whole area. It was a nightmare.
You should have just come on with those streaks.
It wasn't it wasn't like a cute streak. It wasn't like an intentional streak where I put it on and it looked on purpose. It was just like a smudge. It was like in the wrong place. It didn't make me look cuter or like younger or like more nubile or whatever. It was just like, wow, you got some shit on your nose. So
you know, I just wake up. I brush the soot out of my face. I look in the mirror. I said, "You look nubile today, buddy," and I scroll right out. It's pretty easy.
I wanted to take a second and pull over and say I understand how hard it is to live up to masculine standards of dress and appearance.
It is.
I know y'all put so much time and money and energy into specifically dressing your faces.
Yeah,
it's really important.
It's true.
I mean, this mask costs like $35.
That's true. Hey,
Actually,
listen,
no, it was like 40, but it did take a while to get from here. It was like stuck in customs.
how do you feel to invest so much money in masks, and then the masks that you own are not at all corona safe?
I mean,
That's
the thing. It's like I am handy with a needle and thread. I could easily make this corona safe.
Okay.
But would you want to? Because it would never be as cool.
I feel like once you make that mask corona safe, you're like a Mortal Kombat character.
Oh,
like,
I think safety is inherently uncool. So the coolest thing you can do is, I'm go out in a ball of flames.
Yeah, I was going to say once you make that COVID safe, it's going to be like you're going to be able to double the price, and you have to deliver it in a nondescript package.
There are cool things that are safe. What about Space Marine armor?
That's not cool.
That's not.
Yes, it is. Buzz Lightyear's not cool, but generally,
Buzz Lightyear is fash and uncool.
Buzz Lightyear.
Doom guy ran around in a fucking crop top, Brandon.
To infinity and beyond.
Doom guy was wearing a crop top before it came back.
That's true. That's true.
Are we saying Doom is queer coded?
Yeah,
I hope so. I mean, honestly, look at how beefy he is.
I think any game.
Question.
Once Rachel before Lil Nas X.
Once Rachel puts 40 hours in a game, the game becomes queer coded.
Yeah, just by virtue of me being there, I make every space I'm in 170% more gay.
There you go.
Okay, so
but also it's like so clear. He's like a big beefy dude in a crop top. What do you think is gonna be like? Who's that for? It's not for like people who prefer dad bod.
Well,
Here's the thing.
It's for the male gaze, y'all.
It's harder if you're a demon, right? To avert your eyes from a sexy man, like from experience, right? It's difficult,
naturally,
right?
Yeah, I'm a demon. I can totally vouch for that.
I can as well.
I'm not a demon, but I am a wretched little gremlin, which is close.
Yeah,
like a lesser sort of.
Yeah, it's kind of like a kobold, you know.
Yeah,
the demon does like the evil deeds, and the gremlin is like, standing on a chair laughing. Have you ever seen? Yeah.
Just sitting here like, Ree!
See,
I'm Pete Buttigieg.
I'm more like a woodland fairy creature that you think seems, that's really nice, but then you find out, you stole a child and swapped places with them just to live a human life. That's pretty messed up, actually.
This is a very intricately described woodland myth that you
don't know about that myth?
No, I know
like the Fae.
I'm just saying it's pretty detailed.
Don't eat the food or drink the drink.
I like to think of myself as kind of like what are those called? I'm a bit of a barbarian wizard. Like I'm like a bard, but I'm also kind of beefy, so I'm like a barbarian, and I'm incredibly messy, but I also know things that I don't know how I know things, but I just know things. Very wizard energy right inside of me, and I think about that all the time.
Which one is the most smart, hot, and right about everything? Because that one's me.
Probably
a rogue. That's a rogue.
No, actually, I usually play rogues. If I'm being completely honest, I like to do. We did some dual classing rounds, and I did like a rogue, like mage, like didn't realize she had magic character, and it was so much fun. Everybody go play some kind of tabletop game, not necessarily Dungeons and Dragons, because that one's kind of racist, but I
can't trust anyone who just plays like a straight paladin, right?
Yeah,
that's weird.
That's really cop energy. I can't trust.
Yeah, that dude told on you to the RA in college.
I liked to play characters that were a little confused about what they were a lot.
Can't imagine why.
One of my favorite D&D characters was a barbarian that was convinced he was a paladin.
So, for years and years, I didn't trust anybody to do buffs, so I'd always, play the spellcaster. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, I relaxed and I started main tanking, and everything has been great ever since. Straight up, big chick.
I think we can all agree the best characters are the really stupid ones. I have
to agree. The current campaign that we're playing, by the way, everyone listen to Dolphins and Garage is available wherever you can find podcasts. I'm playing a Furbolg barbarian who is just a real sweetie. Doesn't really, like, first time outside of the forest, doesn't really understand technology or like dogs and why they're different than wolves. Just a very very cute character. But when he rages, I'm doing a homebrew barbarian called the legendary wrestler. So he's gonna be fully like Lucha when he's when he rages.
Hell yeah!
So awesome. Far. But he's just a big sweetheart until he starts raging, and then he's like this one indie wrestler named Warhorse who just wants to kick ass.
I approve.
That seems like the gimmick for a lot of indie wrestlers. I say if you were to describe an indie wrestler to me, it would be a guy that just wants to kick ass.
No, I'm sorry. Warhorse wants to rule ass. I take that.
Oh, okay.
Or everyone look up Warhorse. He's great. He's just always headbanging and stuff. He's just a dorky metalhead. It's awesome.
All right, cool.
My kind of people, honestly.
Yeah. Indie
which is to say insufferable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, again.
Metalheads, philosophy people, people who are way too into politics, vegans.
You've really hit the cycle.
I'm glad that I didn't show up on any of those things.
Oh, I could go on. There's more. Everyone's annoying about something. Brandon, you were talking about this the other day. Like, if you get, I think this was you. You were talking about, like, if you get to the, like, top 1% of anything.
Oh, yeah.
Like any fandom.
That was like the top 5% of any fandom is super annoying.
Yeah.
Like, if you're into broccoli, there's somebody that's got, like, broccoli underoos, and they've got a broccoli-themed social club, and they're judging you for not being into broccoli the right way.
Got like a broccoli vanity plate.
So yes, everything in the world has a toxic fandom.
As a rule, my how I roll in anything is when I start liking something really like hardcore, I immediately say like, would I beat my own ass? And if the answer is always yes, so I stop being that into it. That's so as a rule, I'm into everything, but also I don't care. It's whatever.
I just don't talk about my hobbies.
I'm a hedonist, so. And I'm poly, which is another insufferable group of people to be a part of. Like, I get why people think I'm annoying.
Listen, I want us to focus on the good. We all have reasons to celebrate today.
Oh boy.
Pfizer, Novavax, Moderna, they're all getting rocked right now because the U.S. has signed a letter waiving patent protections on COVID vaccines. They're now in support of that policy. And our friends in the pharmaceutical industry, the nightly news is just going to have a lot less budget for funding and the vital work that they do. This is tough. They're going to have to survive. Yeah, you know how it goes. So this is good news in a way because, hey, we're on the road to having a little less money spent on the vaccine in the global south.
But you know, listen, if getting super into crypto after that one time it was trendy on Twitter has taught me anything, it means now is the time to buy. So go ahead, buy you some Pfizer stock.
Literally, yes. And by the way, that's the official recommendation of this show and everyone on it. As leaders of the leftist movement, we are telling you to buy as much Pfizer stock as possible. This is not satire. Plant-based carne asada to celebrate IP waivers. First of all, I think that's a great idea, Alan. I would love to celebrate. Well, first of all, anything that's carne asada, I don't even need a good excuse.
Yeah, carne asada is
it's the bomb. Like
for things.
Yeah.
kings and queens and everyone.
Yeah,
But
I haven't had a carne in a long time, so I would love some really good plant-based carne asada. It'd be pretty good.
But like,
I bet you could do it. Like if you took some like Beyond Burger or like Impossible Burger and froze it. Yeah, flattened it and froze it, and then you like fried it real quick. I bet you could like get that texture.
I want
right now,
really.
everyone uses jackfruit, and it's like it's close, but it's not quite there.
Yeah, like,
The texture, but not the flavor.
yeah, that's.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's a little bit barbecue-y, sliced meat-y. It's fun. Like I enjoy it.
The key is eggplant. So you make it. You use dry. You. So I actually did do a plant-based carne asada, and how you do it is you make like an eggplant jerky.
Yeah.
Right.
Hell yeah.
And then you barbecue that, and you cover it in as much sauce as possible, and you get the texture right, and the flavor's got to come from all the accoutrements,
all the spices, the
comino. Yeah, because you're not getting that beef flavor, but it is very similar to the texture.
Right, I got to try that out. That sounds good.
Yeah. By the way, if you want to inject fake beef flavor into a thing, this is some mad science I did back in the day. You can actually take like literally like an iron supplement and just take like a little tiny, like half of an iron supplement, grind it up really fine, and then just like sprinkle a tiny bit of it in with some soy sauce, and you'll get like 80% of the way there.
That's wild. that sounds so. It's so wild.
Telling you, it's the iron that's missing because it's like, oh, I can't get the blood flavor in it. It's like, well, yeah, add iron.
I think I'm good.
Well, also, let me just tell you, another way to really get the blood flavor is to like reap the soul of a human being, and it gives you lots of access like to blood. And
but then you have to find ethically sourced human being. You know how hard that is?
Well, listen, there's no ethical consumption of human flesh under capitalism. Well, I just do my best, and I just let the pieces fall where they may.
Yeah, you can.
I was going to say there's tons of Republicans.
You could do what you could do what our ancestors did.
I got an uncle.
They took the best warrior or the best ball player, and they sacrificed that person because it was an offering to the gods. It was an honor to be sacrificed. So
I think the first person that came up with that rule, they were like not doing really well in the sport. They're like, we've got to add some balance.
It was some like Poindexter whose dad and mom were both each other's parents, and like just everybody hated him. He was terrible at everything. He was like, "Fine, we kill the best one because I'm big boy now."
I have to put a caveat on that may or may not have happened. There's not a lot of evidence that the best player or the best warrior was sacrificed. Just some evidence that it was.
Was it just like a really short-sighted second best?
It just seems like a very short-sighted policy. It feels like you'd want to cultivate new and better warriors.
I know in the long run, it doesn't sound like it'd be great, but I mean, the Mexica, that empire lasted like 500 years.
If they had sacrificed Michael Jordan to the gods after the first championship, Space Jam would not exist. We've got to think big as a society.
Montezuma was maybe not thinking about franchise franchise feature films at the time.
Big problem.
But that's just like force. I mean, that's why we eventually lost to the Spaniards. Unfortunately, we weren't thinking about Space Jam.
Yeah, by then the Spaniards, Isabella, she drew that first primitive sketch of Lola Bunny. The whole Spanish court was like, "Auga, auga," and it all marched forward from there.
One of the most wild things I think that I've ever heard about that. So I actually know the reason why they did why they sacrificed the best, and it's like weird, but it makes a lot of sense if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so did they actually do this? I guess that's
yes and no. Yes and no.
It's debated.
Yeah,
a lot of information about Mesoamerica comes from the Spaniards. So
and they were super racist. So yeah.
One of my favorite things about how. So, okay, this is like it's one of those things where it almost feels like, what is it? I don't know what the word is for it. Like Mexican Hotepism, but it's not.
Mexican Hotepism.
It exists. It's terrible.
But it's not. This is something different. but there is some evidence to support this. Essentially, when the Spaniards first came over to like the Mesoamerica, and they saw what they considered sacrifices on top of like these really big giant like tall pylons, they thought it was sun worship. But I think there's evidence within like codex that actually it wasn't. It was really primitive forms, not primitive, but it was really like early forms of surgery. And the reason why they did them on tall pylons is, one, to get direct sunlight away from everything so they can see into a person. But on top of that, if you get out of a boat from Spain, you've been like in a boat for like maybe the last 3 months, you've been banging goats or whatever they've been doing in Spain, and you come to like a different country and no one's wearing any clothes, titties are out, and you see a guy climb a giant, you see two guys climb a giant like pylon, and then one guy cuts the other guy open, your first thought is sacrifice. You don't ever think to like, hey, this dude's getting surgery, he's got like a bad tooth or something, right?
Yeah, well, like at this point in European history, they were still just using like bloodletting, right? Like,
bloodletting,
so like
and cocaine,
they had no fucking idea what was happening with medicine. Was it also
was about to be one of the most common forms of entertainment in Europe? That's what the sugar bear did.
Well, let's not even get into what the Greeks and Romans did before that, because it was just messy. What?
So
this might not be a thing y'all even know, but wasn't
what?
Trephination? Isn't that like Trephination started in Mesoamerica? Wasn't that a thing?
It was actually a worldwide phenomenon, but it was all very like very, very ancient people.
Right. I mean, I know that's like when people talk about neuroscience, they like, this is the earliest neuroscience. Yeah. We think people were doing this because it relieved the pressure on the brain and let the demons out, right? But
so
what are the
it looks
cool stuff.
Like I gotta do some breaking news because it looks like we're under a raid. Big shout out to Chocobo Chariot. Big welcome back to I Fight for Them. Hello, present me with logic. You've probably come to the exact wrong place because we're here talking about like ancient mythology, human sacrifices. We're from kind of that world of the left. Hey, how's it going? Big shout out and also a big thank you for following to Hissa. We're not really doing a Cinco de Mayo episode, but it's Cinco de Mayo and we're celebrating just as human beings.
Yeah.
And so we're just talking about just some of our personal memories, and we're also talking about myths and legends and human sacrifices. And basically we were just talking about, you get off a boat from Spain, fucking goats or whatever, your shit's not together, and you come in and you see somebody that's on an operating table getting a surgery, and you obviously your only cultural reference is the Bible and Christian mythology. Imagine, you've lived your whole life watching DC Comics. The first time you see a bat, you think it's Batman. So of course they see somebody laying on a table getting cut open, and some of them in the historical accounts think it's a cultural sacrifice or whatever, when really it's like a surgery.
Yeah. It could have been, but there are also like there was human sacrifice. This is a well-known fact that Mesoamericans loved sacrificing humans, but like only on specific days. It wasn't like an everyday thing.
So getting to like the metaphysical reason why people were like, there's a reason why they did sacrifice, and it has a lot to do. There's a concept in like, I don't know if it's just Latin, like Latin American. Toltec is like the original, I think, originator of this concept of the metote. The metote means fog, but in Aztec dance, it literally means dance. So it's got this two meaning word, and the metote essentially is one. It's a fog. It fogs up your mind. It fogs up reality. It is reality. It's like not real. It's not dense. You can just kind of cut through it, right? And then the real world is onda. It's like the thing that is. It's like almost closer to like Latino Taoism. It's very similar, but it's not the same. But this concept of metote, this concept of things like just kind of being, right? The sacrifice that they would have was essentially it was a means to honor an end, because things had to end, right? And so like the concept of metote being like a fog of reality, but also being a dance, it was a physical thing. They would do this dance to kind of remind them that they were in a reality, right? And so sacrifice kind of goes hand in hand with this concept of like living and ending, right? And it becoming, you know, usually for most people, ending is not a public thing. Ending, people dying, is not public. It's something that was very private. So bringing it out into like a public space, of course it was supposed to be ceremonial, right? You're essentially you're taking a private concept, you know, something that is sad and mourning. And I'm not saying it's like celebratory, but if you look at like Mexican culture in general, and like not the Catholic side of it, but more
even
like,
that a little bit too.
Yeah,
but like the folk Catholic stuff.
Yeah, because a lot of it got like with the native, like the native Latin America, yeah, like all of them kind of all of their thoughts and ideas behind all this stuff essentially create it. It doesn't see life as an end point, like death as an end point. It sees life as this means to celebrate this huge milestone into another thing. And so like almost all Latino culture has that, right? And it comes like this idea of like, I think oftentimes, especially like in high school, I remember in high school and like middle school, anytime we would talk about like any kind of Latino history, the first thing that anyone would tell me is how like, oh, you guys came from savages. Like that was an actual real things that they would say. They would say, oh, you people were savages and you were sacrificing each other. And then us brave Europeans came in and made you more civilized. And I remember being like, that don't sound right to me. It kind of sounds like you ruined all the fun. It kind of sounds like we were just vibing, having a good time, and you came through and we're like, nah, this is bad, right? So I don't know.
At the same time, I was able.
The
by the way,
Americans have trying to recover their vibe ever since.
my internet is having some intermittent issues. I don't know if it's my prerogative, the whole thing, but I was able to follow most of the conversation from my phone, and also this is a topic that I'm keenly interested in. So I just want to say for the record, at the time that the Spanish came over to the Americas originally, the Europeans were torturing people to death on the regular.
Yeah,
putting heads on pipes.
And an uncommon thing.
Well, after we know that Latino cultures had completely ceased to do any form of human sacrifice, the Salem witch trials were still going on and things of that nature. And witch trials in general went on for hundreds of years and are absolutely, in my opinion, ritual human sacrifice. It was meant to accomplish the same kinds of goals as any other ritual human sacrifice historically. So if we're going to look at the course of human history in which every culture has done every major cultural group has done ritual human sacrifice, and try to make some value judgment about which ones couldn't let it go for the longest, that was Europeans.
And remember, at the time, we're talking South American population, like estimated 25 million or above when the conquistadors showed up.
Yeah.
Total population of North and South America is 100 million plus. Like, these folks had food figured out.
Oh, yeah.
You don't support a continent with that many people on it without having that stuff nailed down, without having a high civilization. I mean, and Europeans were savages. They're real savages at the time. I mean, you guys know what breaking on the wheel really is?
It's awful.
Yeah.
The things they were doing, right?
Back then. They were appalled because people of the Americas bathed. Literally. They were like, what the fuck? These people take baths and then put jewelry on? That's messed up.
They looked like giants because they stood up straight and had good nutrition.
Yeah.
Well, and they talked about how the Vikings, the Vikings were these like rabid sex fiends who were sullying all their women because they bathed too often. Like, it's literally like just nakedness itself was so upsetting to them. It's a bunch of fucking never nudes who decided to take over the planet. Like,
if you bathe enough, hot chicks want to hang out with you. Wow. It's a novel.
No, you're supposed to.
It certainly helps.
You're supposed to put on the most uncomfortable woolen suit you can find and then never take it off again.
Oh, man. So speaking of uncomfortable woolen suits, are we going to talk about Ella, whatever her last name's jumper thing?
Oh, man.
Was that on the docket today? That one.
Yeah, we need to.
It took me a second to realize what you meant.
We need to talk about this.
We do need to talk about it.
Yes, we do.
She's CIA. Like, look, I'm the Alex Jones of the left. I'm saying it right now. She's CIA.
Well,
she's 100%.
Like, obviously, she's going to art school.
But like, she's the most dangerous. Go ahead.
Like I keep looking at these things that she makes, and I'm just like, what if this was like my cousin on their Etsy with like 3 people who'd ever bought from? How would I feel looking at this? It's like, well, I would be embarrassed of this. Like, I'd be like, what are you doing?
Well, and the thing is, the thing that is like the most egregious is like it's just really simple crochet. It's not even very good.
Yeah, it's beginner shit.
Like I crochet, and she made a cardigan out of granny squares, and granny squares are the second thing you ever learn how to make in crochet, other than a straight line. And then she made a cardigan out of them, which like people had been doing that already. Like, it's not like she's not innovative, she's not crazy, she's not cool. It's just boring. It's just boring stuff. But her parents are rich. So it is now suddenly something that we all have to pay attention to, and it's like
I mean, her parents are beyond rich. She is like
Powerful.
effectively in the American dynasty right now.
Art school bullshit to me.
Look,
The crown princess of the American Empire.
Let's be fair. If you are in that role, this is the least ruinous thing that you could be doing. She could be like on CNN talking about who we need to bomb next.
She could be Meghan McCain.
Yeah, she's just looking like, listen, being cringe is pretty universal.
I think she's insanely dangerous, but I also feel really bad for her. Right? I have an actual my heart hurts when I see posts and all the hate that she gets. I think she's dangerous because she's how the CIA becomes a woker. Right? They're gonna push they already posted that like woke CIA video the other day of like, I am a Latino woman and I want to help my country destroy Latin America. Essentially, right?
Oh no.
So it was horrific. But for me, that like Ella Imhoff, eventually you're going to get to the point where you're gonna have you're gonna have like pansexual agents in the CIA that are like, yeah, I'm poly and totally, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's cool now. It's fine. Like, but also
just like what?
Yeah, it's
CIA sex perverts. I mean, that's not new. Like fucking hair. Was it? Yeah. No. Oh God. What was his name? The head of the FBI.
J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah, J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah, thank you. J. Edgar Hoover was like, yeah. Or I think it might have been a sissification thing with him. I think actually.
He was apparently he was like big into like wearing diapers and stuff. So it might have been like a baby.
Oh hell yeah, he was a little. That fucking rules.
Listen to the everyone who's gay should listen to Bad Gays Pod. They go through like history's worst gay people. And
hell yeah,
they did an episode about J. Edgar Hoover. It was really good. Literally all of their episodes are very good. So please listen to Bad Gays Pod.
But I feel I do.
Wait, sorry, that part's not alleged. Do please listen to Bad Gays Pod.
Yes,
not allegedly.
Not allegedly.
I feel awful for her because she is an unremarkable white woman, right?
Yeah.
And essentially, the whole world is now. Like, there's so much like on her, and I feel bad for that. Like, that sucks.
I don't
because I feel like unremarkable white women just do that all the time. Like,
no, I know it.
On them all the time.
I always feel guilty to like because one, they should not. they shouldn't be dunked on, right? What they should be doing
I bet there's no mediocre white woman in the world that would trade places with your ass.
Yeah.
Listen. There's an old expression, maybe you've never heard it before, but unremarkable white women frequently make history.
Oh my God. I know they would never trade places, but I can't. Here's the thing. It's hard for me to like hate somebody that doesn't not that doesn't deserve it, but someone who should be at a what is it? What are those called? Someone who should be at a farmer's market, right? It's hard for me to hate someone who should just exclusively shop at a farmer's market. I feel bad for them.
That's an existential crisis that I'm comfortable. We've all got to have them. You've got to pick one. And boy, I just feel unqualified for the life that was handed to me. That's fine. There's worse psychological baggage to have. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome. You know.
In that CIA post, that like Latina woman CIA post that they did, the strong Latina woman CIA post, she talks about having imposter syndrome, and like you should have imposter syndrome.
Yeah, like at the CIA, it's an organization filled with literal imposters. You're in the right place. Literally, yes. Imposter is literally a qualification to have that job. I don't think I belong here.
Like, no one
You're
does.
hired. You know.
Yeah, no one does.
Oh my god.
Who are the people who sit back at the end of a long day and they think, you know, I was truly born to be a cop? I guess there are a lot of people like that on the online world, but
yeah. I mean, yeah, I would say, have you met like half of leftists?
Half of left Twitter. Oh yeah, this is what I'm here to do. Just break things up.
Yeah.
But really, though,
all of the accelerationists who like hate on anarchists all the time, like, oh no, you got to go through the like actual armed uprising and be violent, but like literally can't tell you if you offended them. They're like afraid to have a conversation about it. Yeah. It's like a whole group.
Yeah.
And they're cops.
I don't deal with Twitter anymore. Well, I mean, like I'm on it, but I don't.
Twitter, I mean, listen, Twitter sucks. And if you're watching this on Twitch, I want you to know we are a pro Twitch show. We love everyone on Twitch. And even though, you know, you're looking at our schedule and it's like 8 months out of date, that means nothing. Every day we get on Twitch and we look at it and we brainstorm ways to make this Twitch experience better. So if you're here and watching us on Twitch, you are loved, you are valued, you are wanted. Please,
you have 7 heads. Every single one of them breathes fire. The world fears you.
Please like and subscribe to our videos. I don't even know what they do on Twitter. They have bits. Give us bits. Hit the plus button. I don't even know what they have over there.
Listen, we're not good. I'm just gonna admit it. We're not good at Twitch. We're trying. I'm sorry. We're just dumbass, broke leftists.
We're idiots. Thank you for following Chocobo Chariot.
But we really appreciate y'all.
Yeah, we really
we're gonna move to Twitch. Like we're gonna move completely to Twitch. Those of you who are watching us on other platforms, just get used to it. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Right. It's bad news, I guess, but it's good news for other people, and those people are the people that we're talking to right now, and you're awesome.
Yeah, if you're watching, I mean, shit.
I will admit that I love Twitter, but that's because I like the smell of burning garbage. So that's just a weird thing that I'm into. But I
just huffing a tire fire until it gets you high.
It wakes you up in the morning, you know.
You know, like it's weird. I don't know how I did it. But I don't know what's going on in Twitter, right? I feel like my Twitter that I've figured out is like the nicest part of Twitter, which is crazy to say because the whole point of it is like just to remind people to be like cool. And like one of the jokes that I have constantly is that like I'm a sex positive poster in that I'm positive that I've had sex at least once in my life. I hope so. Right? So like
I mean, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, it's really you never know these days. But I also do I love to like literally remind people to drink water, have a good day, no matter what. I love you. I'll always do like Mutual Mondays where I would like Mutual Monday, I love you. And that's it, right? Like that's it. That you would not believe
what else do you need to say?
Yeah, you gotta be nice.
When I was first trying to build a footprint on Twitter, I did the mean thing. And that got old so fast. It gets old so fast. There's only so many ways you can dunk on somebody that are mean, and then you just find yourself regurgitating the same like really pointless jokes. It's like, no, just like get weird, be silly, embarrass yourself. It's fine.
I don't understand the people that never get burnt out on debating. Like, how do you sustain that lifestyle? I just want to grill.
You remember when we did? We had a podcast called "Lots of Guys Have Podcasts These Days," and one of our first episodes literally was a podcast that a young married couple, was recording while they were on the grill. Like they just had like their Apple whatever out, and they were talking about getting their motivating their employees to go back to work during COVID. So it wasn't an absolute wholesome, pure vibe, but
also they were drunk as
shit, grilling some chicken, and we looked at it, didn't look all that good, but they were just drunk and grilling and having a good old time. And the more time passes, the more I think I envy those simple people in their down home lifestyle.
Sight is a curse, Brandon. Being able to accurately predict things that are going to happen is a fucking curse.
Yeah.
None of us are happier for our ability to like look into the future and accurately call people's shots.
No,
we're miserable.
I just want to grill. I'm serious. I'm moving to a new phase in my life.
You know who knows?
Grilling.
You know who knows everything about what's going to be happening in the future? The people who are in this Twitch room. Like if you're watching like Left Flank or our show or Citations, or like you guys know how the next 20 years of human civilization's going. That's not helping you at all. That's not making you feel better. Like
pure psychic damage to know that.
Yeah,
stuff.
Betting on climate change, that's just psychic damage.
Let me ask everyone in the stream right now. Do you know how to grow food? Do you know how to save food? What are you doing to learn how to grow and save food better?
Yeah, those are important skills.
So this goes back to the Homeism. This is what it's all about. You came a little late, Rach, but this is Homeism is something that I've been talking about and telling people for a long time. It's the future. I don't believe that homies is going to. I don't believe like this concept of being radically friendship. The whole concept is America's tired because America's always been about fuck you, pay me, and I'm not a big fan of that. So Homeism is fuck you, be my friend. You don't got any options. I'm your friend now. We're friends. This is too bad. Right? You're never not going to be my friend. I'm your friend whether you like it or not. And you don't have to be my friend back because that's the way it's going to be. So one of the concepts in it that I talk about all the time is I always tell people, hey, if you just want to improve your life immediately, go and get some basil. Like go like grow it, steal it from Home Depot. However you need to go get it, go get some basil.
The second one.
Yeah, and put that onto like allegedly, yes. Go and put that on a windowsill, right? And just let it and just watch it grow. Every day you walk past it because basil grows very quickly. You'll see it like every day. You'll see something new, and that kind of stuff reminds you not only that you're a human person. Yes, not only does it remind you that you're a human person, but it also reminds you that like these things take time. And it's really centering and grounding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like seeing also once you start growing something, there's like your brain is programmed to continue wanting to grow and cultivate stuff. Mm-hmm. And like in any space, you can grow pretty much anything you want. I tend to focus on vegetables, but I grow a lot of vegetables. I do a lot of. I think my yield this year is something like 22 pounds. I'm giving it all away to like a community fridge in San Jose. So like I do this. I like doing these kinds of things. I do it for the homies because it benefits me because it makes me feel like more of a homie, right?
I'm gonna need homies to like actually grow food for me though. I can't grow shit. I have a succulent right here that I got 2 months ago. It's dying. I killed a succulent. This is my fifth succulent. This is the 5th succulent that I've killed.
It doesn't look dead.
Oh,
5th,
it's dying.
You say.
Well, just okay. If it's dying, all you need to do is stop watering.
You just need faith.
I didn't water it. I like watered it once last month, and now it's dead. So, like I said, I'm gonna need someone else.
You know what? But that's cool. There's a place for everyone in homies, right? Like,
can you cook the food once it's cooked?
I can cook it. Yes, I
can.
Hey,
you're there. Welcome aboard.
It's all about the practical skills. It's not about which one in particular. I just want to say for the record, I'm really glad we're having this conversation because I'm completely burnt out with these jaded leftists on Twitter who think that they're as left as it gets, but would not consider doing a community dinner night or something like that. And like try to make fun of that shit when people do it. Like all y'all who think you're the ultra left, but you don't think it's cool to like get together with your friends and like practice shooting or like do a little gardening or learn some practical skills and then apply that to like community like building. Y'all need to step off and get your head out of your ass and go talk to some people
No,
And-
like, talk about CIA.
So
Yeah,
Yeah, God.
we as a culture have moved away from the friendly fade, and I think we need to reintegrate that. Right? Do any of you know what a friendly fade is? A friendly fade is getting your ass beat by your friends. Your friends got to collectively get together and literally physically hurt you to remind you that, yo, what you're doing is stupid or wrong. Right? That is right. That there, and it's friendly. It's purely friendly because afterwards we take you out for like a Big Mac or whatever, and then right.
people wasn't catching friendly fades in Atlanta. Like they were,
No, I know
they were
that.
just legitimate fades.
Yeah, no, that's a whole different vibe. But in San Jose, it's a thing that like it happens. People catch friendly fades all the time out here. Like it's, hey, like, you know, we heard you were talking to somebody. Like,
Isn't that supposed to be what the dunk is?
yeah,
But there are people who are addicted to like
to the dunking. Whereas like that's no longer a friendly fade. You're just beefing for the sake of beef.
Those
right?
people are getting money off. Like there are people off Twitter, and this is just my ascended theory of Twitter interaction. There are people on Twitter who have figured out that getting dunked on is engagement.
Yeah.
And there are people who intentionally tweet moronic shit that they know will make certain people who are addicted to feeling superior to others. Like if you can make something that's dumb enough that like a person with a room temperature IQ can feel smarter than you and give them like a hit of dopamine, you can get just tons of engagement and tons of followers and tons of whatever.
Are you saying we've entered the era of the self-aware lolcow?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Never.
The K-Hive is filled with self-aware lolcows.
So that's
like, why do you think that woman who did the thing, Fred Hampton? Like,
well, I think we should stand in solidarity with lolcow workers.
Yeah, tell me about it.
That's how capital creeps into and eventually makes movements, like essentially co-ops them, becomes these, like it makes it worth your time, not necessarily to organize and help other people, but to continuously monetize, right? To get eyes, to get the book deal because you got canceled on Twitter, right? This is how all of these things work. It's like the mechanism. So I think I've always proposed, like, those aren't bad to use those mechanisms. It's not bad to do that, right? I think as long as you center it around lifting people around you in your immediate surrounding, then it's not a bad thing. If you get canceled on Twitter for saying something dumb and then you put you're getting ratioed and then you tag your homies and like, hey, by the way, you should follow these people for bad opinions too. That's right. Like, that's not a bad thing in my opinion. Do you, right? Like, keep moving, keep growing. You have to grow the garden. You have to grow that garden in yourself. You have to grow, but I think what happens is a lot of people get isolated. They get continuously alienated, and they completely lose sight of the fact that the community that built them is not their responsibility, but it is the whole community, right?
Yeah.
And so like they appoint themselves as leader of a community, right? And then they say, I made this community, not this community kind of grew organically around me, and I just happened to be the loudest one here. I think that I think people lose sight of that so much that's why we get like dudes like, I don't want to say any of their names because bread tubers are notoriously everywhere, but they're like the leftist CIA, the fake leftist CIA. Anyways, they come through and they'll rage a spot, but they kind of, all of these dudes have really lost sight of the fact that not even like organizing isn't the problem. Most of them don't know how to organize, and that's not a problem because no one who knows how to organize, just go out and be friends with people. That's all it really boils down to. But people have lost sight of that because they're getting paid, because capital has crept its way in and it's told them you are better.
I want to
I don't think it's just about getting paid though. I think it's an obsession we have that extends from getting paid with like formulas and measurement and documentation. You know what I mean? Like it's we want to make the number go up. We are so trained to make the number go up in every single aspect of our lives. Yeah.
But before we move on, Cloud, you asked, don't you have to be a conservative grifter to benefit from getting canceled, or no? No, if you're a liberal grifter and you get dunked on in front of the entire internet, there's one person with tons of money who knows that that poster is willing to take a hit socially in order to like hold the party line. So no, getting furiously dunked on is good if you are a centrist grifter, because the empire is decaying. It's not about being popular or getting brownie points. It's about holding the line and not caring about the social consequences.
It's about the spectacle.
There's an account like
the reason I say what we do here is basically busking for the left is because that's what we're doing here. Like, we're doing clown shit. This comedy stuff, like we call it comedy, we call it organizing, we call it activism, but at the end of the day, it's the spectacle, right? We're trying to get people to pay attention to these ideas.
I think a good example of maybe the centrist grifter, that account, it's like opposite point, opposite hole. What is it? Reverse line.
I don't know. I just think of Brooklyn Dad.
Something like that.
Look, you said a lot of things that sounded vaguely sexy, and I completely lost track.
I want to talk about another comment. This one, this is sort of a hot take, I guess. I don't really intend it to be, but leftists sometimes get mad at me when I say it. If we're gonna reclaim gun culture on the left, we can't do good guy with a gun, but left this time.
Yeah,
that's not reclaiming gun culture, but leftism. That's going to lead to the same kinds of bullshit. Some jackass with a big iron on his hip, thinking that he knows what's right and wrong, and he's gonna do something about it. Yeah, that's bullshit. It doesn't matter what your politics are. So if we're gonna reclaim gun culture as leftists, we need to do it from the perspective of community building. We need to do it from the perspective of like organizing this stuff carefully and not just wiling out and acting a fool and making jackasses out of ourselves the way these right-wing protesters do when they show up with AK-47s and are waving them around. That's dumbass shit, and we don't need to engage in it.
Right.
Guns do not make tense situations less tense.
Right.
Ever. Like,
I think it would be tight if we did mutual aids to fund people to buy guns, but then that's how you literally raise an army and then you become an enemy of the state. So don't do that.
Yeah.
But it'd be tight if they allowed that, but they don't, right? It's not something that you can do. But I think about that all the time, about how, for me, I'm not anti-gun, right? I'm not afraid of guns, but personally, I don't like guns.
Marco's at our
I agree.
I'm not anti-gun, and I am personally afraid of guns.
Here's why
you should find guns scary. They should be scary.
Here's why I don't like guns. I have a predilection to get really sad.
Yeah,
having a gun is a bad idea for me personally.
Right? Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I'm aware of that, right? So what I do instead is I work out. I'm chubby, but I got cardio. And I know how to fight. I do hand to hand. Like I box with my brothers and stuff. So even if you don't have to go out there and buy a gun, but start doing some jumping jacks, work out, do something.
Hey,
go for a jog.
Hey, I need to interrupt. I need to claim stack because some of what you said was good, but I just want to be clear because there are multiple camps here on the left. I want to bring everybody together. Listen, I know who you are. You're out there watching this. You don't have to do jumping jacks. You don't have to run. You don't have to exercise. Learning to fight. I mean, listen, a lot of fighting is just like learning how to get hit, and you're going to inevitably be in situations where you're dealing with like two people. Or what if you run into a guy who's got faster hands than you? It sucks. Listen, I got some easier. Buy a gun. If somebody's acting crazy, there's no kung fu that's going to beat a bullet. So I would just encourage you guys, mentally, if you can handle it, or somebody in your neighborhood, listen, you don't have to have the gun in your house. Have a friend that owns a gun. And if they
that's kind of the whole community building aspect, right?
Yeah.
Pool your money, get one gun for you and your 5 friends. Like,
yeah, get you a friend with a strap on speed dial. It makes life easy peasy.
Yeah,
right.
see,
but also, I say you should find guns scary because I do think you should if you don't find guns a little scary, you're not taking them seriously enough.
Right.
But also, it's a giant dick you use to put holes in things far away and make them explode, and that's cool because we're still little monkey brains, and that is cool. So I get the appeal of guns, right?
Rachel,
and I think actually,
when you say that, I was 50-50 on whether you were being sarcastic or sincere. You were like, it's a dick that blows holes in things from far away, and I think
I mean, it's like Godzilla.
But it is, right?
Kong, right?
I mean, here's
the thing. It's destruction, which has its own sort of hedonic sort of flashpoint to it, right? Destruction is itself sort of a satisfying thing. It's a power. And I get why you want to do that. I love shooting guns. And it's actually a really great way to get to know people in your community. And it's a really exhilarating, fun experience. It's bonding, it's good stuff to it has a lot of good applications. And understanding how to use a gun safely is very, very, very important.
Also, to be a foil to you, Brandon, I do think that you could learn a little bit of, people in general could learn a little bit of martial arts because it does sharpen your hand-eye coordination. You might be a little bit better at, I
do.
Look, we're on Twitch. You should be putting people towards what they want, which is gaming, which also actually helps your hand-eye coordination.
Learning to game, okay? Yeah. I'm gonna make a completely different.
If you want to be a comrade, what you really got to do is you got to start gaming, and you got to get South Korea good at it.
That's right. Let's all start. All of you people, you guys all need to.
If you're not a pro gamer, are you really ready for the revolution? That's what I'm asking.
I've got to break in here the most important survival skills for any of our donating, following influential podcasters and hosts, retweeting, definitely when it goes down, your ability to retweet content is going to be just a huge.
It's the only thing that's going to matter.
Yeah. I mean, think about this, 25, 30 people watching this right now. What percentage of them are really going to join the Patreon? Probably a small percentage. And that's the kind of small percentage that you need in order to, I don't know. You guys can all finish that.
Yeast and bread. That's all it takes. It just takes a little.
Jeep State.
But I wanted to kind of offer.
We love you.
Because for me, the gun issue comes down to kind of competing traumas. Traumatic stuff in my life. I was born in Jackson, Mississippi. As a young kid, gun violence happened in my neighborhood and traumatized the fuck out of me. And I'm terrified of guns. My family moved to a rural area where everyone around me has the most touchy-feely, family-oriented perspective on firearms. Oh, that makes me think of my granddaddy, Whereas me, it makes me think of the corner store getting shot up or people getting in gunfights with the cops. And, then combine that with my later history of sexual assault. And it's conflicting because on one hand, I'm terrified of guns. On the other hand, I want every person to have one so that when somebody tries to rape them, they pull out and shoot the motherfucker. Most rapists do it twice.
Yeah, listen.
And I know that is an irrational, trauma-informed perspective that I wouldn't want to be policy or anything, but it's how I feel, and I think it's how a lot of other people feel too.
Yeah, by the way, you could have run for president in 1992 because that's the answer Michael Dukakis should have gave. But anyway, that's completely reasonable. We're all human beings, and nobody should be forced to show love to their oppressors. That is, and wait, Amy, you are a producer of this show. Can I just take all of that back? Love your oppressors. Really, really adopt that Disney MLK mentality.
Oh no, no, we can't do that, Brandon.
Yeah,
I'm unironically, I radically love people that hate me. Right, I do that all the time. Right, because there's no answer to it. No matter what, you look like the asshole. Right, I've learned that. I get constant shit from people all the time about how hey, you're appealing to the wrong crowd, or hey, people are not taking you seriously. And my only thought is I don't care. I love these motherfuckers. I love them. Right. And it's not the love that people think they think of when they think of love. They think of either this romantic love or they think of this brotherly love. I'm talking a bigger love, a agape, almost the Greek concept of love. I routinely love people that hate me. I love them so much. I hope they hate me more. Right. I hope they dislike. I hope they're off put by this love. And I don't wish to inspire love in them. I wish them to continuously be how do we, this dude's a problem, right? This guy, he's there's nothing that we can do about him. And the reason why I take this radical approach is because when I was younger, I was a huge bully, like a big time. Like I was my town bully. I was super hyper violent, super mean, awful guy. And through just circumstances of like, living on the streets and just like not, going like place to place and not really having a home or anything like that. It was through pure and utter kindness that strangers showed me. Just people who had no reason to be nice to me were nice to me. And that left such an impression that I literally lived on the kindness of strangers, that when I finally got my shit together, the only thing that I could do that would ever like make me worthy of that kindness that people gave to me was to show that kindness always, radically, no matter what, right? And so I'm not out there giving away every single thing that I own, because I still own things and I still like things, but I do my best to at least treat people like people, right? And I think that shit is lost. And I think that even like I have a soft spot, not like I have a soft spot for our oppressors, but I see them as the people that they are, right? I don't see them as like this different entity that isn't a human being either. You know what I'm saying? Like I hate the CIA and I hate everything that all these CIA agents who are like literally figuring out ways to further American business interests and fuck us all over. But at the end of the day, they're people. They clock in for 8, maybe 16 hours, and then they go home and they watch Netflix, right? Like, and they.
Yeah, I want them to go to work, watch Netflix, go home. I don't want them to vote. That's the whole problem. But
well, I really want to iterate on what you just said, because I think it's a really, really important thing.
Hold on, Rachel.
Okay, I'm holding
that. Dennis, I think you have to go.
Yeah, I do have to be. I do have to be hopping off soon. I have to do actual, like, real people work, which sucks. But it was really lovely hanging out with you all.
You're so awesome, and this was awesome, Dennis. We love you.
Yeah, I'd be happy to jump on sometime in the future. Listen to Psychic Dolphin Garage and Dolphins in the Garages, and that's all I have to say. So you all have a lovely show. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. Please come back soon.
Thanks so much.
And Marcos, are you also in a hurry, or you have a few more minutes?
I'm gonna celebrate Cinco de Mayo the most Mexican way possible and go back to work.
Hell yeah!
But I have some time, so I'd love to hear what you'd have to say.
Rachel, get your take in, Rachel.
Well, the most important thing to realize when we're dealing with like people who have these really outlandish or toxic belief systems is that they developed their belief systems the same way we developed ours, right? Like the human experience is subjective, full stop. So the way the brain works for every single human being is by recognizing patterns. And depending on what patterns you have been told to expect, you may or may not see more of different patterns in either direction, right? And that is basically just a function of the brain itself and the foundation of the brain, which basically is to compare thing to thing and to make a prediction, right? So when we think about deprogramming these people, we have to think about the reality that they don't just have like these output beliefs that are toxic, right? They don't just hate gay people in a vacuum. They have an entire epistemology behind that. You know, they have an entire belief system. They have an entire like metaphysics and deontology built on top of, or built underneath those sort of output behaviors, right? And so we can't just bash people over the head with this stuff and suddenly they'll get it. You know, we have to invite them in.
Yeah, you can't. Well, there's like a staircase of belief that leads you to an extreme belief, and like you don't just get there. And so I think sometimes people, you know, they'll hear someone say, oh, I hate gay people, and they just respond to that on the most basic level of like, you can't do that. When like you're saying like there's like it's like a 10-step program that gets you to I hate gay people, you know.
Yeah, and earlier you were talking about like getting together and all your friends beat somebody's ass, and I'm like, I guess like I don't know, that's not like within my cultural experience, but
it's extreme behavior. You have to do that. So like
Rachel.
However, I do want to say, like, the thing that I wanted to key in is even with that, you said it's friendly, right? And it's afterwards. That's the reconnecting as a community. And that's the part I wanted to bring into focus.
Yeah.
is, afterwards, when you have that catharsis and you have that intentional, reconnection, that I think is the most important part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's right. I mean, like we like to get into a little bit of a story behind why. We had a friend that was talking to someone that was underage, knew better, wouldn't stop.
Whew.
We corrected that behavior by breaking his arm. He knows now, right? He has the opportunity. Like that is how you do we're not calling the police because we're not fucking his entire life up. We don't want to. That's a way. Yeah, allegedly. We know. So I don't want to get any names on here. But we don't want to do. We don't want to. You get any kind of like power structure involved in people's lives, especially like brown people's lives. It ruins our lives for the rest of our life. If he would went to jail for anything like that, he would have just became a monster, right? Because the system is designed to grind you up and make you like someone who cannot be reformed, and then they got you, and then you're in this constant cycle of recidivism, and you can't really come back out of that unless like through extreme cases where you can actually do that. We knew that, but actions had to be taken, so we took action. We did something, and you know what? That dude he doesn't talk to anyone that isn't a mom at this point, right? Like,
but here's my question about that. And I think this is like, about recidivism in particular. Like, does he understand consent better?
Yes.
Does he understand why dating somebody that young is inappropriate and why that's like an unfair power dynamic?
Does he need to? Does he need to?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Because it does.
If we want to solve the problem long term, everybody needs to.
Yeah.
It seems like the problem was solved in a long term way.
No. You understand? She's right. That re-education is important, right? Because we did, after the fact that the initial shock of like, hey, these actions have consequences, should also be followed up with, and here's why these actions have consequences. This is the reality of what you were doing. And then we were talking about like, homie, if you had someone that was, like a 13-year-old, like you have a child, right? And she's 13 and she's talking to a dude your age. How do you feel about that? That wasn't the age gap, but I'm saying, how would you feel about it? Where are you at in this equation, right? Like, where do you fit in? See yourself as a person who has agency, right? And like, think about where you were mentally at her age, and like, think about these kinds of things. Think about this stuff. If you don't think about this stuff, and what it does is it humanized some. Honestly, that's probably what happens, is that people lose sight of the humanity of other people. They don't see them as these agents.
Absolutely.
Of people. As like
theory of mind is a lot of work.
Yeah, that's why we call it homeism instead. That's why.
I think the way you're talking about this is important, because I think that there is this aspect that if you haven't lived a certain kind of struggling lifestyle, it's hard to understand. But I have a friend who's an activist in Austin who's been trying to work with some communities there, because he is mixed race and comes from a neighborhood where a lot of people that look like him ended up in really bad situations in terms of like interactions with the cops and then things going downhill and stuff. And so growing up, he saw this stuff over and over again, and he's been trying to figure out, what do you do? Because on the one hand, it's super messed up to send a kid to prison and like ruin their life that way. It's super messed up. And it's often like something that for a lot of kids, it never gets fixed. Their lives are basically ruined in many senses. They may be able to fix some aspects of their lives, but some other aspects of their lives will never be repaired. The
only way to come back is to be rich.
Right. But on the other hand, he's talking to like moms and dads, parents and people, aunties and uncles in his neighborhood, and saying, and talking to them about it too, because they agree with him, but they're also like, but sometimes our kids are so scary, we don't know what to do. Sometimes your kids get so into like violent behavior that you are like, damn, how do I control this person? Like if you've literally got a kid, and I've been around this sort of thing myself in terms of like being around extreme poverty a lot, living in extreme poverty a fair bit, and just dealing with like really extreme kinds of situations going down with people. Like, you have a person who's like trying to control their teenager, and their teenager just pulls out a weapon and is like, you can't control me, you know?
Yeah.
What do you do with someone in that situation is a huge question. And so that's why you find so many people willing to turn their own into the cops, even though they kind of know better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or really know better.
Well, because it's hard. It is hard to put things back together after people have gotten that angry at each other. It's hard.
So, you know, say what you will about some aspects of this idea, maybe, but I think
it's not for everyone.
Up by your homies would be better than going to prison.
Yeah.
Yes,
just gonna put that out there.
I'm also of the opinion that like the homie concept and lifestyle and the way that I'm trying to the way that I live my life is not for everyone. I'm aware.
Yeah.
Right. It is not. I want to bring more of the positive aspects and hopefully create a platform that other people can build on and bring positive aspects within their own life and make them part of the process. Right.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is never law. What I'm saying is never that is the way it has to be. What I'm saying is this is the way that I am and this is how I got here. How did you get here? Right. Maybe we can work. Maybe we can work together. Maybe we can figure stuff out. I actually have to get out of here real soon. It's been great.
Yeah, you got to come back.
Yeah,
we'll work it out.
Marcos, where do people find Ain't Shit Show?
They find if you go on to Google and Google the Ain't Shit Show official, we should pop up on Spotify. We pop up on Apple Podcasts because we have a curse in our name. We're actually kind of hard to find. So Google is the best way to find us. Also, you can find me at Twitter at Ainter Show. I love to. I'm a big time shit poster, constantly making bangers. So give me a follow there. It's been great meeting all of you. Have a good one.
All right.
Thank you coming by so much. Thank you.
And now,
did y'all book him just for me? Just because give me a little dose of positivity and know that I'm not literally the only person who thinks we should actually try to heal people.
No,
let's go with
benefit.
that. Yes, most of all for you, all for Rachel.
Absolutely. I am the center of the universe.
That's right.
So.
My only problem, I've said this once in a while, by organizers for organizers is a little restrictive. It's by organizers for people with Patreon accounts, for people who like to hit follow, whatever.
We're always working on the branding. We aren't even a real show.
That is our audience. Hey, Amy. Hi, Rachel.
Yeah, I'd say the people who get the most excited about us are always organizers.
That's true.
Yeah, mostly. Although lately it's been some other folks too, and that's great. Listen, we're starting to not be just the Velvet Underground of podcasts, which was one of those jokes that we kind of made at first, and then it became true and it wasn't cool. Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that never. Moving on. I just want to say for the record, thanks everybody for tuning in. Please follow us on Twitch if you're able, twitch.tv/notsafemedia, and also. I just want to say, although we love you all so much, this is not going to be an overly long show today. Brandon and I both have other commitments we've
got panels. So, and if you want to, participate in that, you follow at Dark ATL, DARC ATL. We're doing a panel on homelessness and policing, and just talking about, Atlanta politics, city council, stuff like that. We got Marshall Rancifer, who's just one of Atlanta's longtime advocates. and we've got like a couple of other really cool authors and activists that are going to be on that panel. And yeah, you should come. We're going to be having a good time. Kennedy's recording Sentai Truther.
Sentai Truther Club, yeah.
And
with Yessie from Hot Girl Agenda.
But let's
How
say
exciting.
say that you don't want to do either of those things and you just want to listen to a podcast about like Star Trek or something.
What?
If we had a show like that, we would definitely recommend it to you right now. I can't think of one though.
I mean, if you're super bored, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't. If you're white, you really shouldn't have anything better to do today.
Wow.
You could listen to Gay Space Communism.
Is that a show that's featured on the Not Safe for Wonks extended media network?
It sure is.
Wow.
And it is me,
Maybe.
Amy, our
Yeah.
friend Paul Byron from Critical Bits, our friend Corey Archibald from Brand New Congress, a whole bunch of our friends from a whole bunch of different leftist and progressive spaces, and a whole lot of talk about Star Trek. We don't just talk about the episodes. We're not really doing like reviews. It's more like we talk about sort of the themes and the ways that media interacts with culture. It is Gay Spacecast on Twitter. I'm happy with it. I think we've been having a lot of fun. What do you think?
Star Trek's great. You can't
Every conversation you've ever had about everything about in the world, including Star Trek, with your friends, except you just get to listen to it and smoke some weed.
I love it.
We've talked about some really cool stuff. We've talked about like MMT and how they do money. We talked about like identity and ethics and like what it means to be a person and stuff like that. It's cool. It's heady. It's stoner nerd, super intellectual nonsense.
So, but yeah,
Also playing on penises.
Before anybody thinks
Lots
about
of Space Jews too.
Before anybody thinks about getting out of here to go check out any of that, keep in mind that we're not running away quite yet. You got like 45 minutes of us still hanging out, thinking about things going on in the news, thinking about things that we read, saw, etc. And just one thing that's on my mind is that I saw this in an actual scientific publication. Cats will sit in metaphorical, hypothetical, imaginary boxes. So, you know, cats are obsessed with sitting in boxes. Well, turns out that if you just put tape on the floor in the shape of a box, cats are attracted to that. Even if you just lightly suggest a box to sit in, they're attracted to that.
Okay, so I have one more question for this. Will a cat then purchase a non-fungible token for a box?
Yes. Well, I don't know. How would cats feel about NFT? I think they'd be all in.
I mean, we know how they feel about laser pointers.
Well, here's the thing. Cats don't believe in money. I think cats just believe in...
They're too good for that.
Yeah. The idea that they would have to give anyone anything in exchange for things, I think would just be offensive to any cat.
I mean, my cat can believe I control the weather, so I'm pretty sure she could believe in money. Every storm is held against me personally.
Oh, God.
At the very least, they certainly believe that boxes exist everywhere all of the time. And they believe in boxes.
The box you're looking at right now, look at Patreon.
That's such a good idea. You should definitely throw us some money because we do this, a lot of work for this. We love this. We love you. Yeah. However, we also love having food to pay our bills. Food to pay our bills. Great. Having money to pay our bills and our food and our housing.
On the left, you can pay some bills with food, but definitely your landlord will not take your Domino's and cabbage. Did you guys see that post, which fits my reverse engagement theory of Twitter, where the guy sees somebody that's, by the way, a very nice spread of Domino's pizza, like 5 Domino's pizza boxes. Got some, fresh they might have been overselling it with fresh, but definitely firm and eatable, which is like pretty good for one of those operations. Like you could happily just cut it up and throw it in your, whatever. Yeah. And some guy was just like, look at this, LOL, this is stupid. And of course, all of Twitter got together to, slam.
Good. I am glad that we on the left are collectively going into the next phase of this process with the understanding that doing small things is also cool.
Yeah.
Doing small things adds up if enough of us do them. Like, that's the thing. Like, if everybody in our city, your city, was doing shit like that on the regular, it would make a big difference. And it takes somebody leading the way. We shouldn't just cringe at every person who does something a little bit out there. And I know there were some people that felt like the way that she sort of phrased the tweet was a little bit like slightly over the top, and they were like, whatever. But I'll just say this for the record: people get arrested giving food away. That's not like a non-real concern.
If you see somebody that's feeding the hungry, please give them fucking clout. I don't even think that that's a hard, like, yes, they're chasing clout.
Yes, right. Like, what possesses a person to see somebody trying? Even if they're doing it fucking cynically, right? Even if they were doing it for the clout and for no other reason, right? This kind of action inspires action in other people. And if you respond to this action by punishing the person publicly, by humiliating them and shaming them for even trying, you stop anybody else from doing it either. So just fucking stop it. Shut up. Let people do nice things.
Number one, like, as we're talking about, you know, if you are giving out food, you're doing a pretty good job. And it probably deserves some social media capital. When we talk about what engages people online, you guys know what actually gets engagement online. It's fucking arguing about podcasters and fucking lame debate streams, and it's just like total bullshit. And this is just statistical, like in any blog. When a blog talks about any kind of giving back, the numbers go down. When the blog talks about bullshit, the numbers go up. All of y'all have, follow some YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Probably one of those YouTube channels does takedowns of fucking bad movies. And whenever they do a take about, fucking Sherlock made me want to claw my eyes out, it gets like 2 million views. And when they're like, oh, I like this show, it gets like 5 views total. Human beings are like drawn to conflict, and our desire to like be engaged with conflict and feel superior to people is fucking used against us all day. The internet can feed you just feel superior to other people for 16 hours a day until you get tired. But that shit's not gonna fucking change power relations.
Hey.
So they wouldn't let you do it.
Alan's here.
Here's somebody.
Alan!
Talker for these topics. Hello.
Everybody knows that I love Alan.
I picked the perfect timing, of course. Alan.
My favorite.
What do you think about toxicity versus acts of kindness?
Dawn of justice.
If y'all knew what was going on in Central Illinois right now with toxicity, like the worst kind of toxicity is you don't know who the actual toxic cohort is, and they're all like circling wagons, pointing fingers at each other at the same time. That's literally what's going on right now. So what was the alternative? I'm very interested.
I'm gonna let you in on a secret here.
I mean, we're just talking
It's all
about...
of them. If you can't tell which group is in the wrong and more toxic, the answer is they're all toxic, actually.
Well, I take sort of like the DV approach where there's been, I think, see, this is one of the frustrating things. There was a seminar that I was at, they cited a study, and I've never been able to find it. But allegedly what they said was that they actually talked to couples therapists trying to figure out if they could identify who the abuser was in the situation, and allegedly they could not. Yes, allegedly in air quotes. And that kind of stuck with me because there's a lot of organizing tactics that if you didn't actually have positive aims could actually be construed as abusive. And there are a lot of victimized responses that are definitely not solid praxis. So, when you're being told bits and pieces about what's happening in the community and you're looking at it going, why are they circling the wagons with daggers out? It can take months to figure out.
I mean, yeah, I have been a grievance officer, and I have dealt with the absolute shit show that is trying to figure out who's at fault. It's not great. Like, it sucks. Thank you for, doing the work.
Yeah, well, it's even worse when it is between organizations and that sort of stuff because there's no infrastructure whatsoever. And so you basically have this like unresolved set of issues that didn't go away just because the people did. And then, after a temporary truce, they then come back out, daggers out, and it's wild. So what was the alternative again?
Well, really, there wasn't an alternative. I mean, we said toxicity versus aid, but like, you can't just turn it off. I want to make, before we get back into that discussion of like mutual aid and navigating those spaces, Dongzilla says Kennedy used to bully you. Kennedy, why did you stop?
Dongzilla, this is the Thanos meme, I don't even know who you are moment for me. But if you want me to continue to bully you, I could do that as a paid service, perhaps.
For money. That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Relive your memories. Hop back on that roller coaster.
I will also bully literally anybody for money.
This is why we're a great team.
I also do life coaching. I do design.
Rachel, you don't do life coaching yet. When we're ready to do, we're gonna just take over. We're gonna be the greatest.
It's a new service I'm offering. Is life coaching. Bring me your problems for $90 an hour, and I will explain to you what the fuck to do about them.
I wanna.
It's not therapy.
Yeah.
It's not therapy.
It's coaching. Not therapy. It's coaching.
Bring me your problems, and I'll tell you to just live your life and do what you want. Really long-winded for 90 minutes every session.
Or you could just listen to our show for free. That's fine. You've got options.
I'm gonna be a daily affirmation TikToker.
Hell yeah, do it.
Rachel, it is too low.
Be the change, Kennedy.
Rachel, you can charge twice as much. But yeah. I know.
Noted.
Listen, we can do pro bono.
I'll do a sliding scale and it starts at 90.
Yeah, we'll do a
I'm sorry. I must interrupt everyone for an important announcement.
What do you got?
Because this affects the future of Not Safe for Wonks as well. Because of a meme thing, we now have a fax machine at my house. But I'm going to be giving the fax number to every patron above a certain dollar amount. I haven't decided how much yet. Wobbly Python is actually here. Come here. Python is the one responsible for this.
Wow.
I don't want to go too deep into this. Is a whole thing we can get into at another time. But Wobbly, would you just really briefly assure everyone that we do in fact have a fax machine?
You've got a real Orange Cassidy vibe. We love that. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm the internet's favorite talking cartoon snake, mostly. Sometimes I'm this guy. I know. You got to trade up sometimes.
Those shades are incredible.
Like they're so good.
You look 4 times hotter with those shades. I need those.
I can pick you up later. I don't want to shill on your show, but like I buy online. They're super cheap. Nobody should have to pay a premium for glasses, but they're going to have to call us before I put that on air.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
absolutely. Other than that, though, it is real. I got real drunk on a weekend, and I said, if I get 5 $20 Patreon patrons, I will purchase a fax machine, I will set up a line, and I will let you print whatever you want in my home.
Let's go.
You're going to get so many dicks.
You're going to get
you're going to get a lot of dicks, right? Like so many dicks.
Rachel, do you know how many dicks you can print out for $25? I know you know the exact number. It's a lot. It's fine.
So with that,
it depends. What quality of print are we talking?
If you want to know, I haven't seen enough dicks yet. Just now, I know that I'm not often a contributor here on Not Safe for Wonks.
You should be more often.
I should be.
I haven't heard.
I have a day job.
Very often.
Yeah. I do lots of graphic stuff.
Yes.
If you guys want to see cool art, go to twitter.com/wobblypython. If you want to see me do cool graphic stuff live, you do it at Twitch. But if you want this fax number, the number is $20. And you have to go to patreon.com/wobblypython.
Wait, no. We're also doing it through ours, remember?
Yeah. I mean, you can do it also too. Well, I mean, come on.
We're not safe. We're not safe.
Patreon.com/notsafe.
Yeah. There we go. We know the number. We know the number now. Get in on this.
I absolutely love that. I absolutely love it. Wobbly Python, everybody. Please follow Wobbly Python. help with our logo, with our intro sequences. Just everything that looks really good is from Wobbly.
Follow these guys first, though. They deserve it.
Yeah. And everything that looks like mediocre, like it was just kind of slapped together, is from me. And everything that looks like, wow, that's really nice, that's Rachel.
I do something.
Is this like a damning with faint praise situation, Brandon?
Well, no, listen, Wobbly's here less often, so I wanted Wobbly to feel the best. You know, we're here holding the fort down from week to week. So I try to give a little extra love to the guests.
Mm-hmm.
But
we do love Wobbs.
Alan, let's talk back. Let's go back. Let's talk about our previous conversation, which was just like doing it in real life and mediating, I guess, between groups. How do you do it?
Are you talking about the coalition accountability effort?
Yeah.
Our first meeting is going to be either in late May or early June. I'm pulling for early June so that I'll be fully vaccinated. It includes a couple of DSA sections, an Indivisible, and some Communist Party members so far. But basically, the catalyst for this is that now the number is up to 30 activists spanning 30 years, that there has been a politician-backed activist who has hopped from organization to organization, actually riding through their accountability process and then using that, to quote one person, using that burned bridge to go to another place. And after a while, she ran into me. And in that particular situation, I didn't do anything spectacular, except one of her targets, I helped her process trauma. And she then did all of the organizing labor to actually start to discover this trail of activists who have been so traumatized that some have left activism, some have become incredibly distrusting of other folks. Like, it's this really, really... I would hesitate to say advanced betrayal of trust, but there are definitely deliberate strategies rather than unintentional behaviors exhibited. And so the first meeting is going to be completely about, us getting to know each other more so before we decide to collaboratively craft a coalition accountability agreement so that real progressive and further left coalitions can emerge. And if a bad faith organization or an organization that does not hold their own members to account enters into that coalition, there are terms for removal, ideally, for that sort of circumstance, so that organizations that may be better in other states but aren't so great in ours can no longer have the branding pretext of being a progressive organization that just operates in a separate space. They're either relevant and part of a massive regional coalition, or they are not.
I think that rocks. It's hard.
And it wasn't my idea. We were going to go straight to the press on this. Somebody else pulled me back and was just like, hold on, we could do something more here to like hedge against it, because that only hits one whack-a-mole, and
Alan,
eventually I listen.
For people who have no idea who you are, for people who are hearing you for the first time, can you introduce the Amarin Shutoffs campaign and you and your story in like 2 minutes?
And yeah, sure.
Or however many minutes you need, whatever. Don't run a timer or anything.
I was about to. I have a clock with the seconds up. But the No Amarin Shutoffs campaign literally started by myself, where I had received a tweet from Amarin, Illinois on July 11th or 12th saying that they were going to shut off utilities in Illinois starting August 11th. And I sent out emails to every single organization that I could think of, and the organizations that eventually became No Amarin Shutoffs, the first 8 out of the dozen that coalesced were actually from a past congressional campaign that we had run together. So we did some grassroots organizing, we met each other, had substantive solidarity moments, and the next thing we know, we're taking on a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And we won multiple times over. We won our first moratorium on July 29th. Our second moratorium we had won sometime in mid-August. Our third moratorium we won in September 22nd, and our fourth moratorium we won on November 25th. And right now, we are in a situation where utility shutoffs have resumed in Illinois. And because we have pressured so many different units of government, including the City of Urbana, City of Bloomington, Macon County Democrats, Champaign County Democrats, all passing resolutions, the governor unlocked $80 million by an executive order recognizing the public health risk that utility shutoffs pose, but stopping short of a moratorium. And we are fighting for a complete moratorium still, even though last week we just passed a bill out of the legislature, HB 2877 in Illinois, that unlocks another $1.4 billion in rent and utility assistance that will be paid directly to the housing and utility providers. There's a neoliberal component, but it will be earmarked by the household. So it will actually apply to those balances. And interestingly, it also includes municipal and cooperative utilities. But yeah, we're 4 dozen organizations and counting. There's a lot of fluctuation that usually occurs with that number, depending on some developments that are occurring with, more bad faith that we have squashed, plus more organizations that we've recruited. But it includes DSAs, Communist Party, Green Party, Party for Socialism and Liberation, and like Sunrise, Indivisible. There's definitely national level groups that I'm forgetting, Malcolm X Grassroots Movement, and American Federation of Teachers has a local with us in this coalition as well. So yeah, we are in the process of seeing if we can dial things up further, where in addition to passing resolutions, we know that there is a state policy that actually will allow municipalities to order the restoration of public utilities. And the corrupt politicians in my neck of the woods were not willing to do that. But the Green Party actually got a mayor in Illinois. And that person, we just approached him and he was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So he just got sworn into office in Galesburg. His name's Peter Schwartzman. And he, I might have gotten his last name wrong. And he is going to be the first city or mayor to direct the legal counsel and the city manager to investigate using the emergency services and disaster agency powers that they have, which we've known about all the way back in September or October of last year. And politicians have still not been willing to touch this. And it's super important because not only does it apply during the pandemic, it also applies during climate catastrophes. So if we don't dust off those cobwebs when there's a clear and present need now, we're probably
then you're
never
not going to next time, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's time to make some stuff happen. I think we had a slightly, not exactly, I mean, it was a lot less severe, but we had a certain amount of similar problem here, just in terms of there was definitely an issue with, okay, we have a bunch of unspent state funds sitting around. And there was actually a successful push to be like, look, if people aren't spending their program funds, they should go to COVID relief. Like, if there are program funds that have just been sitting in state coffers waiting to be spent, and literally, I don't know if y'all realize this, but your state probably has this problem too. There's just millions of dollars in most states tied up for projects that sometimes sits there for decades, just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And this could be like, your state might be like, telling you, oh, we're running like a $12 million deficit on the budget this year, and they've got $250 million tied up in projects that has never been used. It's just waiting to be used, but hasn't been. That could be freed up and turned back over into the coffers for other projects. And there was a successful push here to make some of that happen, where they were like, listen, like, if some of these projects have just been sitting in the queue with this money forever, turn it over to COVID relief.
That sounds exactly like what happens in academic departments. Is this different buckets argument is used to squeeze people that need money in every organization I've ever heard of.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the same damn bucket.
Yeah, it's all the same damn bucket. Get people and what was important about getting it done this time is that precedent thing that you were talking about. because they are supposed to do this. In a time of emergencies, they're supposed to look through unspent expenditures that they've approved and look for ones that are less necessary and then reallocate that money for the disaster. And so every state that didn't do any of that has set a precedent that they may not do that in a future disaster.
Oh yeah, and one of the other things there is there's definitely the financial budgeting aspect. There's also the legal powers aspect, because Governor Pritzker in Illinois on October 27th lied about his ability to actually, pass or enact an executive order to enact a moratorium. And that we immediately got fact checked so that he couldn't have that cleanness in the record. But to make sure that it wasn't just one media piece that fact checked the governor, we actually, every single one of the resolutions that we passed so far this year, all 4 of them, every single one of them cites the specific statute and demands that the governor pass that eviction moratorium. So it's really important to remember they're trying to write history, and you got to rewrite the book as quickly as you can with what the actual facts are, because otherwise, like you're saying, Kennedy, they will try to use that as an excuse and to point to historic behavior without you having to inquire as to the policy or to say it's tradition.
Yeah, and that it's tradition shit. Fuck tradition.
So
politics should work for us today, now, not for the people that are dead. Why is it important that our government work better for some people that are literally 6 feet under the ground?
Dead is dirt. Dead is dirt. Dead is a doorknob. What are we talking about?
Like skeletons. There are skeletons that are getting more benefits from our government right now than me. What the fuck is up with that? Like, come on.
You don't deserve to lose to Skeletor.
No.
It's not fair. We need justice.
Fucking, we should win against skeletons. We should win against skeletons. Just saying.
I mean, if we can't win the ethical scales against a corporation, I somehow doubt we're going to beat skeletons.
Skeletons
we didn't win hearts.
I mean, skeletons do vote. We have had that problem. Being a skeleton doesn't necessarily deny you your right to vote. You would think it would.
It doesn't even stop you from getting elected as governor, let alone.
It doesn't stop you from beating Josh Collins in a congressional race.
Oh dang!
Or Ashcroft, right? Back in the day.
Pat Poole would just like to note, ink isn't cheap.
That's why you gotta subscribe to the Patreon to get the fax number.
Yeah, if someone faxes over $20 worth of ink, I guess we'll deal with that when it happens.
I'm gonna put an additional rate limiter on the fax machine so it's dial-up speeds, so you can only send stuff so fast.
That's funny.
Oh my god, that's amazing. But the thing is, that wouldn't stop the things from getting sent. It would just create a backlog forever.
And
you would just literally always have a fax coming in.
For us, we're trying to get on Twitch. I feel like the spectacle of receiving a fax is probably pretty good for us as a Twitch, we've got a fax coming in.
Actually, yeah.
I mean, the Twitch generation probably hasn't ever seen a fax before.
We can bring the faxes back, and it's like we're Willy Wonka. We've got like a mystical machine. We might have to.
I'm running on the platform of bringing back the fax machine jobs. They're coming back.
Listen. Y'all just wait.
It's an outdated industry. I say you're wrong. What reasons do I have for this? Shut up. Tradition.
Ooh, what a callback. You ain't wrong.
Beautiful.
It's about as silly.
I am running for office to get a blue check.
I feel like that's a fair reason to run for office. We all need how do we get blue checks?
You can sign up for it. There's like a review process. And then we just have.
I'm working on a campaign launch video for my run for an unspecified office to get a blue check. I'm really hoping that I don't actually have to specify what office that I'm planning to run for, and I can just be vague for like a long time. Because you've seen those people, right? That are like, maybe I'm running for city council. Oh wait, maybe I'm running for state congress. I don't know.
You've got to put in the paperwork.
You're running for chair of Not Safe for Wonks.
No, you don't have to put in the paperwork, Brandon. So many candidates last cycle proved that you can get all the clout and all the credibility, and then it turns out you didn't file the papers. Okay.
I just don't know if people are so the internet is so much more cynical. Like all of the 2020 Twitter stuff is just gonna get mocked. You're gonna need to whatever happens.
No, you don't understand. I'm not gonna be. There's no like hidden layers of grift here. This is gonna be 100% transparent. I don't know what office I'm running for. I'm just running for an office, maybe long enough to get a blue check. Let's go.
I think all you had to do was put up a Ballotpedia page and then tweet at verified, because we had to do that for the congressional campaign I was on.
Amazing.
I'm doing it.
That's all that it's
we need to get on Ballotpedia. Hey, do we have any press outlets that are really friendly? We'll just publish things that we write. We got to find one.
I feel like if I ask Savage Joy, hey, I'm running for office, maybe.
Yeah.
You might even file the paperwork.
I might even file paperwork.
I might file paperwork. Who knows? Could do anything.
Well, so the question is, like, are you looking for a large outlet, or are you looking for a small indie outlet? What are you looking for?
Just anything that we feel like could get us closer to getting blue checks. Once we get the check, we can become priority reply guys.
You could get current affairs to break my run story, you know?
I mean, we know so many people in media at this point. Surely one of our many friends in the media is willing to help us shitpost Kennedy to the top.
We take one day and we ask around, and we'll be on path to that blue check.
Yeah,
listen,
I
know. Who do we really want to be part of that world? I want to hype an event that's not a not safe media event.
Yeah.
That I just think will be a train wreck. And
okay.
And we should all buckle in and like be a part of this show. The Vanguard is hosting Ryan Grimm and Ryan Knight, Battle of the Ryans, Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. Let's just do it. Let's just whatever. Like something hilarious will happen. Like 100. Like we see debates all the time.
So okay, are we just we're watching the debate?
Maybe
and commenting in real time.
Can we put money on this?
Like it's a real presidential.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
No.
I'm ready. When is this?
I'm skeptical.
9 p.m.
Tonight?
Yeah, you're going to be asleep by 9 p.m.
No, but I do have my kid.
Yeah.
How long is this debate for?
Let's just watch it.
Surely they won't go that long. Neither of them have that much stamina.
Live. Let's just watch it not live.
That's a good point.
On like Saturday.
Yeah, we can watch it at any time.
We can do a special Saturday stream, bonus stream or something. Watch it not live.
And you know what?
Hang out.
We'll do it. Hear me out. We'll do some special part of it for patrons.
Ooh. Maybe that's Patreon content. And Rachel, I mean.
Yes, exactly. This is Patreon content now. You have to at least give us $1.
Yeah.
You know what, though? You can give us one whole year's worth of $1 at once, and then you don't even have to think about it.
Wow. That's cool. I love that. So I actually do like that as an idea. People can get our true thoughts on that entire show.
I'll do it. I'm here. Let's go.
Yeah. Rachel, you want to hang out tomorrow?
Yeah, probably.
Because, like, Cinco de Mayo, like, we can celebrate the day after.
Do you want to come over tonight? We're making picadillo. Like,
that may really happen. I got to do a panel. Like, it might be, well, if I leave.
I can't believe y'all are doing this COVID irresponsible shit on the air.
It's going to be tough.
We're all vaccinated. The CDC said it's safe.
It's not
The
good enough.
CDC said it's safe to meet in small groups if both parties are vaccinated. The transmission rate under those circumstances
He got
is
him on the
very
same
low.
day. He literally got them together.
I'm one of those Twitter weirdos now who says if you don't stay inside until 2023, you killed grandma.
Someone on Twitter.
Dude, it's fine. You're a hikikomori and you just don't leave the house. It's fine. You can be a shut-in. Just be a shut-in.
No,
this is like when ace
you
people
have
need
to
to
be a
post like an
shut-in.
entire tirade because they don't realize they're ace, and then they get mad at people for being horny. No, horny people aren't bad. You're asexual. Like, it's the same exact thing.
No.
You're going out is not
No.
bad. You are a shut-in.
Going
And that's
out is
okay.
bad.
You can be a
The
shut-in,
word
baby.
is
It's all
bad.
you.
You can't talk to people anymore. If
Someone
I see
on-
you without a mask on, it's on site.
Me in 2028. If I see you without a mask on, it's on the side. Yeah, listen, I saw somebody on Twitter just say there's a special variety of people that who really got off on being the most obedient to the rules. And those people are like not going to adjust back to the post-COVID. We're not there yet, by the way. But and people, whenever someone says it, it's like, you got a shot. We're not out of this at all. You're living in the first world. I'm literally talking to somebody that they still haven't gotten there just because they're in a different country. And the vaccine is like expensive and access is balled off and stuff like that. But there's a specific group of people that love obeying the rules so much that they're having a little trouble letting go. And it's like an opportunity to control somebody else and be the nicest person in the room.
I mean,
Such is the petty tyranny of bureaucratic metrics.
Such is the petty tyranny of bureaucratic bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does no one here has the courage to speak against these bureaucrats. We've all decided to let them rule us victoriously. Next week we're all going to be what?
Hey, you ready for this take?
What do you got?
Congress, more like useless.
Whoa!
Wow!
Burr. I love that.
I cannot believe
You weren't ready
something
for
so
that. You
profound.
weren't ready for that.
Just unparalleled genius with poetry.
I would love to dig even deeper into that, but
Alan, were you prepared for this today? Normally, so far we've been bringing you on for serious conversations, and then today we were just like, come shitpost with us.
I'm sad.
It's
I don't
all
want to
over the
do
place
serious.
because sorry, I keep talking over you, Rachel. My apologies.
It's okay. I have a weird internet connection, so I miss that you've started talking sometimes. My bad.
Literally today was just one of these days where two cohorts, I should say, are having it out. And so earlier I was up for a levity day, and today I'm just kind of oh God, please nothing come back and haunt me at the moment. Let me just sit here, eat pizza with a fork to get at Cuomo, and just move on.
Mm-hmm.
Pizza with a fork. What is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Why are you eating pizza with a fork? Are you just being a classy gentleman? What's happening?
No,
he was referencing. You were referencing De Blasio and Cuomo fighting about how you eat pizza, right, or something.
I actually don't know about that. I was referencing a Jon Stewart thing on Donald Trump eating pizza with a fork and that being the worst insult he's ever seen in his life. And I'm just looking at the whole Cuomo situation going, I got too much stuff going on.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do this and post Fork You Cuomo on Twitter until it works. And I've been counting the days. We're on day 13 tonight. And my favorite slogan so far is don't let the Cuomonist win.
Oh, I'm gonna post Fork You Cuomo and just get more likes just to make you upset.
Yeah.
When you think about it,
go for it.
No, do y'all not remember though?
When you think about it,
Bill de Blasio eats pizza with a fork and knife also. I guess it's okay if a liberal does it.
When you think about it, Cuomo is just the version of de Blasio that forks.
Wow. And a bunch of
God, that's meta. That's so fucking meta.
Anyway, I think Cuomo was one of them because a bunch of other New York politicians gave him shit and were like, "Look at this fake ass New Yorker eating pizza with a fork, you piece of shit." You know?
I've never seen a stuffed sport coat not eat pizza with a fork. I mean, I thought this was expected of these motherfuckers.
Well, because you can't get your hands greasy.
Yeah.
They've never been uncomfortable a single time in their lives, and they can't tolerate even the slightest discomfort.
No, you put on your pizza gloves, which are these gloves that look like your hand. They're made to look like your hands, but
it's just like with surgical gloves on, like up to the elbow, like I'm ready.
But people don't see them because it looks like your hands. See, that's
right?
For rich people. So you go, you
yeah,
get your hands scanned, and then you get your pizza gloves, and then you could just pig out and be like, "Yeah, I'm a messy American like you," and then you walk off of camera and you just peel off the fake skin, and you're like,
just eating around a dental dam.
God, I love that. How many of our conversations end up as talks about food? Like the last time that we were here, a bunch of people from
we're a
left
food podcast.
Let's become a food podcast. Let's just become about grilling.
We're a food podcast. Quit
I
playing.
think this is what happens when you stream for 3 hours, right?
Yeah,
it just gets weird at the end.
Yeah, if you're sitting
it's
down
dinner
for 3
time.
hours, you get.
We're about to get out of here, and I'm hungry. That's what's going on.
That's what's happening. That's what's happening. Do we have anything that we want to promote, plug, talk about, share?
Alan, you got anything you want to plug? I mean, I'll always plug the basics, of course, but also anything extra going on.
Well, so tonight the Peoria Democratic Socialists of America are having an abortion fundathon. It's an online event. It's just a fundraiser for making sure that healthcare access is available to all the genders. And it starts at 6 p.m. Central, so it's basically right after this. And if you just type in Facebook, Peoria DSA 2021 Abortion Fundathon, you'll find them. I know that's super easy to find.
That's a lot to type.
Yeah, I know. But if you go to their page, if they promoted it right, you should just be able to find the post for it, I think.
I'm sure that anybody who types in Peoria DSA, they'll find the Facebook. And it's probably right there. And yeah, I actually do see it. It's right there. You're good to go.
Awesome. Well, I'll tell Doug he did his job well.
Yeah. Just find Peoria DSA on Twitter, and it's right there at the top. I love it. Rachel, you got anything that you want to share aside from? I mean, you can plug the pod again. You can just give your Cash App. People may just want to just give you money specifically.
But only if we can hear you, Rachel.
Only if we can hear you. Let's do dubbing. You do the voiceover. Hello.
Okay, it's me.
I'm Rachel. Pay me money. I will yell at you and be very mean, but tell you how to socialism good.
It's like a friendly fade, but for your psyche.
It's like a friendly fade, but for your psyche.
So it's right down there. I'm Reach Rachel Con. Anywhere you can send money. I do need it. It would be nice. I'm trying to buy actually more corsets so that I can sit up for 3 hours straight without it killing me. Also, this is much more exciting and less personal. We just launched a new show, Gay Space Communism. That's with me, Paul Byron of Critical Bits, Corey Archibald of Brand New Congress, Amy Hassel of this show as well. And it is about Star Trek's influence on popular narrative, the way popular narrative shapes political behavior, identity stuff. It gets really out there and philosophical, but we talk, sort of about how to get from where we are right now to the gay space communist future we so crave. And you can find us at Gay Space Cast on Twitter.
That is a beautiful plug.
Thank
Dark
you.
ATL, we're doing a forum. Also, gosh, I'm doing this fundraiser. It's on Social Fund. If you just go to our show's Twitter, you'll see the fundraiser we're doing. I might put it somewhere near the top. It's at NSF Wonks on Twitter. We've just got a friend who we're desperately trying to get on their feet and out of our hair. So get in there and donate some real money. Like we need like $100 or something to get them sorted out. Let's go. We're like halfway there. Been working on that all day. It's a lot. All right.
All right,
let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here because we got other stuff we have to get to.
Let's leave. Let's go home.
We're sorry for ending early today, but thank you everybody for watching. Have a happy Cinco de Mayo, and tune in next week. We're gonna have a lot of good stuff once again. Next week we're gonna have Brooke Binkowski, former Snopes editor, still a fact checker, truth finder, but no longer working for Snopes because Snopes is hell. And just an amazing person to know.
Are we gonna get like the gossip on Snopes? Like, are we gonna really learn what's going on?
If we want to, she doesn't seem to have a lot of reservations talking about, at least talking a certain amount of shit. So
all right. So we'll see y'all then.
Hey, yo, can I plug the music show real quick?
Plug anything.
Friday nights, right here, right now, except Friday night. I'm doing music, the Amy Hassel Musical Variety Act, Fellow Workers themed. Come see it.
And follow all of us on Twitter. Whatever.
I'm a hassle on Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
We're cool people. We'll be your friends, like digitally. Virtually.
We'll be acquaintances.
We will be the cloth mother to your baby monkey brain.
That sounds a lot more healthy and appropriate. I love that. So, everybody, thank y'all for watching. Not Safe for Wonks.